pronunciation and accent, BEL.com/THEO. That's BABBEL.com/THEO for up to 55% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. You know, I waste money on different subscriptions, I notice. You know, I got a subscription the other day. I realized I accidentally subscribed to, it was like Sherman's shoestrings or something. And they start sending you separate pairs of strings, you know, shoestrings. Just, you know, you got I got 90 feet of strooch to the house now. And I don't know what to do. And I don't know how to unsubscribe. That's the problem. I'm wasting money on subscriptions like that. You know, 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. It could be an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. And that adds up. That's why you need to check out Rocket Money. It's the app that shows all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. That's right. Right now, cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/THEO. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/THEO. Now, can we carry guns in California?
If you have a CCW.
Okay. Yeah. How do we know if we have that or not?
You have to get it. It's like a license. It's like a fishing license. You know, it's a little more complex. California's tough. California's tough to get a CCW. You go to Texas, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And the logic behind that is, like I personally believe, I know the big debate right now is guns. No guns. Get rid of guns. That ship is sailed.
Right.
We are inundated.
Right.
And if we did do that, we said bring all your guns in. The only guys that are bringing their guns are guys like me.
Yeah.
You know, the bad guys ain't bringing them.
No.
So that ship is completely safe. So the idea for me is I feel like we need more guns. I think we need more guns and good people's guns.
Wow. So how do you know then? What do you say good people? And do we need all types of guns? Like you see these young kids or, you know, a lot of these school shooters, you see people getting guns, like these high powered rifles and stuff. For me, I feel like if you haven't served with that gun, like militarily, I feel like you shouldn't be able to have access to that gun, right? Like, because at least then you're at least putting in the hands of maybe of someone that has some semblance of purpose, knows how to use it, I guess. I don't know. For some reason, that helps me a little bit think about that kind of stuff. But to think that, like, someone needs an assault rifle, like a 20-year-old, that seems crazy to me.
You know what? It does to me, too. I'm not a gun guy. Since I retired, I've got some guns that my dad had. Since he's passing the safe, I got my one gun I carried on duty. I don't have anymore. Obviously, a lot of cops are gun guys. A lot of guys have AR-15s. You know, you name it, MP5s all the way down. I don't see the necessity for them. Again, you're going back to the problem. The problem is we can't get rid of them because all we'll be doing is taking them from the good people.
Right.
And now we got a whole bunch of, and when I say bad people, just people that would use that gun in a negative way.
Right.
You know, in the commission of crimes or whatever. So, again, that ship is sailed. I'm not a hunter. I can't imagine killing anything. I even have a hard time fishing. You know, I'm not that guy. But their justification always is hunting. Is it necessary? No. But, I mean, it's a waste of time. The ship's sailed. You know, we just have to deal with what we have. There's no collecting guns, not in this country.
Yeah, I agree. It just seems almost like a battle cry that people, it almost seems like people use it to just incite, like it's a nice dream.
Yes.
But it's just unrealistic. And also this country was kind of founded on somebody pulling a gun on somebody that didn't have a gun. I feel like maybe, I don't know, I wasn't there, but if like troops pulled the guns on the Indians, and I just wonder if how much of that really goes over through time too, you know?
Well, I think the big argument for gun power that is policing us,
that makes sense too.
Can inflict their will on us.
Well, that makes sense too, especially now with like social media platforms, like people, you can't even say certain things.
Yes.
So people's voices have really been, I'm not saying they've been seized because we have a voice here today, but they've certainly been corralled and earmarked with expectations, I feel like. So at that point, you have a really tough time if people don't even have their voice anymore to take people's guns. You're just going to have a tough time doing it.
It's just a conversations. The big conversation now in racism. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we could end racism? But we're never.
Yeah.
It's always going to be. So we need to. That cry needs to change. It needs to be an individual account. That is the only path that we have. It's individual.
Is that your phone?
Yeah.
It's okay. Do you need it to be on? Well, a few minutes ago, it made that sound. It made me nervous. I thought I had a damn life on the bracelet that I forgot about. So tell me this. Tell me about. We'll get back into some of this stuff, man. And it's really interesting. And thank you so much for sharing your inside information and just some of your insight. You know. So take me on some of the drug stories, because that's the part that seems kind of crazy. And you ever roll up on some people and they're just yacked out of their brain, bro. And it's that late night hour, you know, maybe there's some hookers lurking or something, like, because I've been there myself. So I'm just wondering I've never had it where the cops show up, you know. So I'm just wondering, there's that weird edge though where you're like, damn, a cop, you know.
I've had in narcs and out of narcotics. I'll give you a patrol one. Very early on, middle of the day. I remember it was hot. It was summer. We got a call about an individual in the middle of an intersection naked. So we drive down to the intersection, and we're talking about busy. I started in South Central. Busy intersection, middle of the day, huge dude in the middle of the intersection, butt naked, covered in sweat, going in circles, which was causing, in the middle of the intersection, people to slow as they were going through. So what he was doing, as they slowed, he would run up to their car and try to dive through their window or break the window.
Oh, wow.
And then people would panic and take off and leave. This was back when I started, and PCP was a big deal in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And based on what I saw, that's pretty common. Guys on PCP to shed their clothes.
And was that more of a drug? Some drugs are used more in certain communities. Was it more of a black community drug, a white community drug? Was it more of a poor drug, a rich drug?
It was a black community, Hispanic community.
Yeah.
And I can't
I know that's not definitive, but yeah.
But the problem with that, for me to tell you, I'll tell you what it was, and that's what I experienced in the neighborhood. But I started in the black community. I was in South Central, and I moved on to Whittier, which was a Hispanic community. So Whittier was a liberal mix, but predominantly Hispanic. So my interpretation of it is just I can't tell you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it.
So yes, it was very prevalent in the black community at that time. They used to smoke Sherman.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, I've seen it on movies and stuff. They feature that on movies.
Crazy. That shit is crazy. That shit really died off. Quick. By the time
were they marching or dancing? Was there any kind of like fluidity to it? Was it like capoeira kind of, or was it like just like a maniac, like a wrestler coming into the ring? Like, was there any?
Yeah, completely, totally out of control. Completely and totally. For being conscious, they were totally. Wow. There was no reasoning with them, and they were extraordinarily strong. That drug would bring out extraordinary strength.
Yeah.
So when we pulled up, and I recognized, as I saw, there was a situation where there was a threat to the public, because this guy's trying to get into cars. And people are still trying to pass. They're still trying to go through the intersection, even though there's a naked, dude in the middle of it. So what I ended up doing is just driving around this guy in circles, clearing this section with my lights and siren on, and all the noise and lights and the confusion kind of kept them in the middle. It kept them in the middle. He would walk a little bit, but I kept doing these circles until more police officers got there. And the good thing about Los Angeles is that when you call for help, there's so many neighboring police agencies, sheriffs, LAPD, yada yada, that they're there a lot. And we had a lot of police officers. So what we ended up doing is getting out of the car and kind of circling this guy. Well, now it's on, because there's not a lot that we can do. And this is back in the day when we didn't have a lot of really efficient, less than lethal stuff.
Right.
But they used to issue SAPs, which is crazy. A SAP is a little leather club.
Bring it up, Zach. Let's look at it.
Yeah, it's a little leather club that has sand in that sole purpose was to be. And the police uniforms have a little pocket in the back of the leg. They put the sap in there. They even had sap gloves. Different examples of sap.
Those things hurt?
Yeah. Those things are brutal. And they're compact, and they were very effective. They were used in the right scenario. It's totally outdated. They're totally gone now. We found much better ways to address situations. But back in the day, that's what they gave.
And how long was it? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
damn.
man. Something to carry on, yeah. But standard issue. Even when it went to the pecan.
Yeah.
Some people, the pecan's because the pecan is just the dynamic of the way it looks being used. It's just
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. The optics of it.
the optics is tough.
And my friend Chad got a job after Katrina. They were hiring anybody to be security, right? Because they needed, everything was unsecure. He only weighed probably 95 pounds or something. He was small. I think he was like a premature baby or something. Or, I don't know if he was premature. He was kind of immature, but I guess he was premature or whatever. He probably had 7 months on gestation, And so when they gave him that billy club, it weighed him down so much.
Yeah.
Just because of how strong he was, that after like a week, it had like almost dislocated his hip just walking around, so he had to quit.
Yeah.
But
that's a tool that died really after Rodney King. They still have them. They still carry them. They still train a lot of them, but it's just bad optics.
Yeah, the optics of that went down after that. Okay, so go on.
So anyways, we got this guy circled.
The bull in the China shop, man.
Yeah, this guy is nuts. So now the situation is that, again, police work a lot. Even back then, it's optics.
Right.
Everyone's watching you right now. So you not only have the dynamic of I'm dealing with a guy, and if I remember him, he was pulling the whole thing. So this is not going to be a simple situation. Again, didn't have tasers. We didn't have those things.
What about a net?
Didn't have a net. There's a lot of less than lethal stuff that they're introducing now that we just didn't have it back then. And I guess it was because it's like anything. It's evolution.
Right. You don't need it till you need it.
Or you don't need it until whatever you had before is no longer socially acceptable.
Right.
Rodney King pretty much killed the baton.
It really did, huh?
It really did. And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
They found better ways. But we didn't have it back then. So now the situation was so we're going to have to bum rush this guy. We're all going to have to go in and get this guy. I actually had this scenario twice. Well, in police work, the newest guys get the worst assignments. Unfortunately, in that scenario right there, it was a lot of different agencies, so everyone didn't know. So I remember the sergeant pointing out guys that were obviously new, and they essentially rushed this guy who's completely naked on a 100+ degree day on the asphalt in the middle of an intersection in Los Angeles, and it was on. Wow. And I mean, it was on for a while. Then once one guy got to the ground and everyone gets in, and even when you can only have so many people involved just because of space factor. You know what I mean? And even with having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys in this guy, it took 15, 20 minutes to get him in custody, to actually get his hands behind his back and get handcuffs on.
Right.
By the time that shit's done, you're covered in all kinds of shit.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
You've been out there, you're good, yeah. And especially when you guys all go running at him, I bet it's almost like spin the bottle. Like the last thing you want to get is the guy who runs right at, straight at his wing. Exactly. To be honest.
Totally. The other scenario I have on that, to make it real quick, we had a guy that we got a call. Someone saw a guy looking through the window. A little girl saw a guy looking through the window. Essentially, this guy had been looking through the window at the little girl and doing his business.
Yeah, masturbating.
There you go. And so we ended up looking for the guy. We ended up finding him in some bushes not too far away. Again, white guy, creepy, tall, totally naked.
Yeah.
And his testicles were the size of a softball. And what we later found out is he had tied a kite string around the base of his balls. And for some reason, that did something for him. But what it did do is it made his balls really swell up.
Yeah.
It was visible. So you got a guy that's completely sweaty. He's not coming out of the bushes. You see he's got big, giant purple testicles. And something's wrong. Again, got all the officers there, circled it. But at that point, I was the youngest. This was just our police department. So they
go on
in there, get this guy out. So I had to spend about 5 minutes wrestling a dude that's naked with big, giant purple balls and a kite string around it, dripping in sweat, while all my peers and friends were around me, pointing and laughing. Literally. It was crazy. And then at the end of the jail cell,
like it's a grand opening or something.
Yeah. I actually had to cut the string off and look at his evidence.
Oh man! And did those nuts subside once you took that string off?
I don't remember. That was the only visual I was trying not to deal with. I remember it being very difficult to get those scissors in there. I bet. To cut that thing off. Can't give him scissors, tell him to do it. It's a situation where you just can't do that. Booking people was that. You can't put them in cell. You can't put them in the cell without doing a strip search. You got to make sure they don't have anything that are encrypted cells or others. So every single guy that you arrest, you essentially see the crack in their ass.
Oh,
You see them naked. You know, I had a homeless guy where got naked, squat, cough, and spread their butt cheeks. Make sure you don't have anything in their butt.
oh yeah.
And he had heroin balloons all matted up in his ass hair, where he had obviously put them in there to hide them.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're little colorful balloons. That's how they would do the store the heroin. They put them inside the inflated balloons. So we told him, you need to pull those out. Pull those out. And the guy wouldn't do it. You know, fuck you, you do it. So I had the assignment of pulling his butt, heroin balloons out of this dude's butt hair.
Damn, that's a Colombian birthday party, dude. Right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
man. Have you put in their butt
Put it up his butt.
a racquetball? What is it?
A racquetball, you know, a racquetball is like this little smaller tennis ball.
Racquetball.
You know, racquetball?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's just not registering.
They're blue, rubber.
Oh yeah. You
Little
got
bit.
that into his butt?
So I've seen guys with Coke bottles that they put in their. The guy put a Coke bottle in his butt, but it was open. It was an open Coke bottle, but when he put in for the suction, when he tried to pull it out, he couldn't get it out. It formed a suction issue, so we had to transport this guy to the hospital to have it in the emergency room surgically removed.
Oh man, that'll make you switch to Pepsi, huh? But also, that's like that Sir Galahad or something. What's the one where they try to pull the thing out of the?
Yeah, Sword and Stone.
Yeah, it's like Sword in the Stone.
Pretty humiliating situation. Tough ride to the hospital. I felt for the guy, you know.
And you can't sit down. That's got to be the worst thing. You keep thinking you can sit down, and then every time you go to sit down, you realize.
Humiliating. Imagine you have to walk into an emergency room, you know,
Yeah.
to get a Coke bottle removed.
Yeah, and you have to kind of walk in like kind of. Yeah, I would probably. Yeah, and if it's glass, huh?
It's glass.
Oh, that's so risky.
Yeah.
God, it's almost like that. It's like Don't Wake the Baby or one of those games. I feel like it has like a real game show element.
Yeah.
That is the most Japanese game show element to it I've ever heard. You know, I feel like.
It's the thing about police work that people don't realize is that it's just the craziest shit. You know, it's just
Yeah,
deal
people
with the
don't
crazy
realize
shit.
that. People don't realize that.
They don't even think about it. They watch the movies. Here's the infatuation. You watch all these movies that you see. None of them really. There's a few. There's a show called The Southland, which actually one of our officers' wife was in the business, and she was somehow involved. You watch like Training Day, you know, all the other stuff. They're great entertainment, but people think that's real.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's really like. You know? That's why these opportunities for someone like me to come. I have no time. I'm retired. I want to do guys right that are in a job. This gives me an opportunity to explain. You know, this is what's real.
It could be absolutely anything. Like it's like the levels of things. It almost feels too fast.
It is. It was. I loved the job. By the time I got out, I had to get out because where your life changes. I had a child, you know, seeing dead children. Just all the different things that you experience as life goes on. It starts to wear you. It starts to beat you down. That's why cops retire at 50. It's you got to get out. Mentally, you got to get out. It's just too much. It's too much. The physical aspect's not that big. The mental is. You see everything. I mean, I could tell you.
What about a jumper? You get a jumper?
No, there's nowhere where I was. There was nothing that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty flat. Here's a crazy story. We got to the house and this dude answers the door and he is a tweaker. I mean, this guy is high as a kite, stereotypical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Radio Shack manager. Yeah.
Totally. Shirt off, tripping out. Just came back probably collecting copper on his bike.
And how do they answer the door? Is it always like, is there one common way that tweakers answer the door? Like, what's up?
No, not really. They don't answer the door. Usually you just see the blinds open a little bit. Bam, you know, you can see, okay, they're inside. But this guy answered the door because he needed us.
Yeah.
The situation was that he was with his girlfriend and they were both high as a kite. It was like 4 in the morning. And when we walked in, she's laying on the floor in the living room and there's blood everywhere.
Oh.
There's blood all over her legs and she's holding an old nasty t-shirt on the crotch. And this t-shirt is pretty saturated. So when we start talking to this guy in his tweaker way, he starts to explain to us that they were being intimate, and during that they had gotten the dildo, those old school metal coat hangers, and he had unwound it. You know how when you like if you're doing
cooking marshmallows.
cooking marshmallows, and he did that. Well, he essentially made it like that, but he took the end of that, the pokey end, and he stuck it into the end of the dildo.
Nice.
And then he bent that coat hanger so it was a hand. So he was using that on his girlfriend.
Right. So he was really,
He was going,
yeah, he was getting in there and doing what he could. Yeah.
yeah, he was making it happen.
He was trying to jumpstart that cooch. Yeah.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was those pokey ends. Oh,
I feel like right now my pussy hurts.
hell yeah, it does. To this day, it bothers me.
I don't even have a pussy.
Right?
I like him in
To this day, it hurts me. You know. But so when he described and when he held that, we said, "Where is it? Where's the item?" And when he went and got it and held it up, there was literally tissue. There was tissue that was on the thing. So this was bad. This is a situation that was bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's about as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah. Do you press like a? Is it like a button? Do you press when it gets too bad?
No.
Who do you call when it gets too bad?
You know what you end up doing when it gets too bad, or cops end up doing? They end up fucking jumping.
Wow.
They end up. It's a coping mechanism, and it just happens. And I can remember in that scenario, the hardest part in that scenario, I had been on for quite a while, and the guy I was with had been on for quite a while as well. In that specific scenario, the hardest part for us was not to start that. You know, because
You're right.
it was just so fucking crazy. It was just so crazy. Standing in the living room,
Yeah.
the two tweakers, one's bleeding confused, is that we have a responsibility to render aid.
Yeah.
Civil liability is a big deal. When you're a cop, at any given time, you can lose everything because you failed to follow one part of your job description. Rendering aid is one of them. So I remember looking at the guy who had less time on the side going, you know what the fuck you got to do, right? You got to apply pressure, man.
And he's got to do it because he's younger.
He's younger. Yeah. You got, well, less time on it.
Yeah, let's come.
Yeah. So I would, and that conversation, looking at your buddy and saying, look at you, you got to do this, man. The difficulty in not laughing in that situation, both of you, like your face, and him looking at me and going, there's no fucking way. There's just no fucking way I'm going to do this, dude. And you going, no, you have to do this. Luckily, we were able to, we were having such a hard time dealing with not laughing that it went on just long enough that we heard sirens. And it was the fire department. You know, and at that point, it's like, yeah, this is all you guys, man.
Dang.
You guys.
Dude, that's so interesting. So there must be such bonds kind of that are formed out there between cops. Are there?
Yeah.
Because I would just feel you're going through such insane situations, you know? And it's so interesting that you guys use humor to cope because it's the same thing. It's the same thing why a lot of comedians get into things, you know, things were traumatic or some type of way. And so they use humor to survive. You know, I think it's amazing that Mother Nature uses that as like a governor on us, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like if you get so far, you just laugh. I think it's why the Joker laughs in the Joker movies. Because at a certain point, he's just so mad that, there's nothing left to do but laugh at it, you know?
Pretty much. The situations are so outrageous. Like you said, as far as the bonds, police, there is strong bonds. And I'm married, love my wife, been together for 20 years. We talk about everything, my best friend. My entire career, I never went home. I never discussed anything. Literally never discussed anything. There was never a good time to come home and say, hey, you know, so a fucking kid died today. You know, all the things that went on during the day, unless it was like really light, I never told her anything traumatic. Wow. Because it's just never a good time. You know, why would I want her to experience these, especially as time goes on, these horrific things? So the only people you do talk about that with are these guys that you're doing it with. And 9 times out of 10, when you do talk about it later, it feels so inappropriate because it becomes a joke.
Right.
The most horrific situations, they become funny. You know, and anyone else that hears that, it is a hard pill to swallow. You know, it's hard for the general public to go, why the fuck are they laughing?
Right.
You know, what's so funny? You'll see sometimes on TV, I'll see like homicide scenes on TV, and I'll look at, because I'm conscious, I'm aware of this, I'll look at the officers around, and you do it from now on, you'll see, every once in a while, you'll see 2 guys, and there'll be horrific murder scene, shootings, whatever. There's be 2 fucking cops right there, and they'll be laughing. Wow. You know, they'll be communicating together, and they'll be laughing, and you go like, oh, dude, that's such bad optics. That's such, but you totally understand.
Right.
You know, the rest of the world doesn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another night of epic fights is here. It's time to fist up. It's time to stay fisting, baby. I'm talking about UFC 282. It's an action-packed fight card. My boy Bryce Mitchell is going to be on there. He's been a two-time guest here on the pod. I'll be throwing down on this one with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. So check this out right now. If you like to gamble and you can do it safely, that everyone can earn up to a 50% boost when you place a same-game parlay on UFC 282. Download the app now. Use promo code THEO. Bet $5 pre-fight money line on any fighter to win and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code THEO this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Well, baldness. People are going bald. Look out of your window. What's happening? Baldness. I saw a dang cat the other day and he was damn balded out. Jesus. That's why Keeps can help. 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss, and Keeps offers them both. Convenient virtual consultations with a licensed medical provider and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months. That's Keeps. You don't have to leave your home. God, imagine staying in your home, getting better hair, and finally coming out when you're haired up. I mean, you're going to be dang haired up. Bigfoot's going to, Sasquatch will be out there wanting to know what conditioner you're using. That's right. Keeps has everything your hair needs delivered straight to your door with discreet packaging and proven results. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/THEO to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/Theo to get your first month free. Keeps.com/Theo. Dude, there's so much pressure on you guys. Like, what was that kind of like? What has that been like? Like, the pressure that here's a young man who didn't grow up with any amazing or special skills. And now they're kind of being a jury at certain times, being like immediate aid, going into something they don't really know where they're expected to have all these answers, you know, and they have these tools on their belt that some of them are lethal that they're supposed to use. Jesus, man.
There's a tremendous amount of training that cops get as far as all the stuff that you have and how to use it. As far as the pressure, like I told you earlier, the number one killer of cops is suicide.
Yeah.
People have always want to go to bed at night and close their eyes and feel they're safe. That's the only reason we all sleep at night, because we think there's people out there that are keeping us safe.
That's a really good point, isn't it?
It is.
The second that the police are gone, somebody in your house is going to have to be at your window.
Which is the craziest part of what's going on lately. It's hard to watch. I've escaped it. You know, even after Rodney King, there was a push, and I'm down for the push. I'm down for everything always getting better. We can, in any facet, we can get better. We can do this better. But this is a very complex job that you can't identify everything you're going to come in contact with. There's no way to be ready for everything that happens.
No.
There's just no possible way in this job.
Right.
And a large portion of these things that you're coming in contact with are life and death. You know, they're brutal. You know, a mom walking with her child is lost her grip on him, and he got sucked up into the wheel well. And you get there, and there is no way to properly handle that situation. You know what I mean? There's nothing that can be done. And people don't understand that aspect. You know, they ask a lot of things. When I watch what was happening, when I watch those videos of what was going on, and you see it, you saw it spray painted all.
Are you talking about during BLM? Or are you talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All cops are bad. You know, and it was everywhere, and there was just this concerted push of demonizing a million people, and we've never really. We have done that, but we don't really do that to any other profession like we do cops.
Yeah.
There's watch them all the time. And fishers, they would just, what do you want? 150 oxy, here you go. Bam, bam, just killing people left and right. You know, morals, all for money. We've never had a concerted effort of demonizing doctors, because the world feels like we need doctors. If they don't feel that way about police, how they were saying, get rid of the cops.
Yeah, that was insane. Because I was pretty sure it was a place where people could carry weapons around. So I just wanted there to be, I don't know. I know that there's people that like to hunt, and I would rather have some of them be around.
Sure.
In case things get, or at least somebody, somebody rolls into a diner, with a, with a weapon. There's going to be 7 other guys in there.
Absolutely.
Who are going to find a way to finish their fucking eggs that morning.
Which is what we were talking about earlier. I believe that we need more. It's the only solution. We need more guns in more good people's hands at all times.
Yeah.
More CCWs. I really truly believe that's
what is CCW?
It's concealed weapons license.
Yeah.
Concealed weapon.
Yeah, I that's the thing. Well, it's funny because it's not even that is. I never even consciously made that choice. Really, I just said, okay, I need to be in a place where I know that someone around me can have a weapon,
Yes.
and I can if I need to.
Yes. Yeah.
It was just it was almost like a subconscious choice, really.
Yes. Which is the issue with the way the community, the way they've this concerted effort. There's all kinds of reasons why it occurred, which
Of course.
none of us want to get in, but this effort to demonize these good people. I'll be honest, man. I did police work for 20 years. It doesn't occupy me. I don't care. I don't have a gun on me right now. I don't carry a gun because I feel like I don't need to. Police work is not
Yeah.
just really solid. And we came from all different places. How I got there was much different than the way most got. We were totally opposite. Yeah, there is a lot of guys that you see, like probably got their ass kicked through high school and became cops. But I found the majority of those guys, they were good dudes. There was guys that weren't, but within police departments, especially now, they really police themselves. And a lot of cops are just being turned on them when they're retired. They did exactly what they said.
Right. It's like people saying, don't stereotype, but then we're going to stereotype this huge group of people that are keeping us safe.
And now we're less safe than we've ever been.
Are we really? I was going to ask you that. Are we less safe than we've ever been?
Absolutely. The whole idea of police work, when I started, the whole idea of police work in its entirety was proactive policing. Get out there and find crime before it occurs. I want you to shake cars. I want you to shake cars means pull them over, find out what's going on, find out if they got stuff there. I want you to
Frisk, tickle.
Yes, and there's a whole dynamic to that that's always in debate of like, oh, he stopped me because of this or he stopped me because of that, which is it's really not true. But it's too long of an explanation for that. But the whole idea of police work was to find the crimes before they occur. And now what has happened? Oh man, he only had a baseball bat. You shot him.
Right.
It's like, what are you talking about? Like this wasn't even a conversation. That was stomped down. Back in the day, that wasn't allowed to go very far because that's ridiculous.
Right.
But now guys are losing their jobs. They're not just losing their jobs; they're going to jail. So now, literally, I still have a good friend of mine is the chief of the police department that I worked at now, and they're literally telling police officers, essentially, I only want you to deal with what we have to do. So cops aren't out there doing proactive policing. They're not out there actively looking for stuff because they're literally scared that no matter what they do, the world's going to turn on them based on a video clip.
Yeah.
Or a concerted effort once that video clip is seen of all these examples, which I'm not, but of cops being unjustifiably tried and convicted on television.
Wow.
Where they've said this guy is a bad person and look at what he did.
Yeah, take me through one. It's interesting. Because I agree with you. I agree. It's impossible. How do you say all of these people? And I wasn't one of the people who jump on that. I'm one of the ilk that it's like, yeah, maybe there's some bad guys here. Maybe there's some people that are untrained or not trained well. But I have always felt like I've had a decent relationship with police unless I was doing something wrong. And in that time, I didn't have the best time,
And nobody wants to be held accountable. Even a housewife that gets pulled over for speeding. I mean, I've had women that, we have to enforce all laws. There's reasons all laws are in place. But yeah, I'm trying to think of one recently. I don't know if you remember this. There was a scenario right after the big incident that occurred. I think it was like in Atlanta or something. It was 2 cops. They were trying to take this guy into custody, and it was a drag-out fight. They had the whole clip. I mean, they were fighting, and the suspect ended up taking the guy's taser. Remember, and he ran, and he turned back, and he shot the taser towards the cops. Okay, that guy's done. there's just that guy is unequivocally the justification for a police officer to eliminate that threat is
100%.
100% to identify a crime, to take that person into custody, and to take them before a judge, and to have them processed for the crime. They're not there to administer punishment. I think that's where the problem some cops get. Some cops get so, some guy spits on your face, it's hard not to. Yeah, I've had that. My name's Brad White. My name tag said B White. When I worked in South Central, I had a guy actually come up to me, and we were involved in a scenario where I was investigating a crime, and he noticed my name tag, and he decided to go on a tangent about it. I see how it fucking is, Officer B White. You know, and it didn't even register with me at that point. I'm all, oh shit, no, my name's Brad, man. You know, my name's Brad.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, you're missing the rad part.
yeah, dude. I actually got my name tag changed. I just didn't want to deal with that again.
Sure.
Yeah, I just didn't want to deal with that again.
Sure, dude.
But in the scenario that you saw with those two Atlanta cops, I mean, there's just those guys. That guy decided that he was not going to jail, right? And he was going to do anything he needed not to go to jail. And that cop's job is he can't just go, okay, fuck it, you know, you don't want to go, I'll see you later, because now that guy loses his job. He has to take this individual in custody. There is no not doing it.
Right, because now if that guy goes and does something immediately down the street,
Done. Civil liability,
and the cops are sued.
Very difficult. So those guys had no choice at that point but they take this guy into custody. And when you're in a fight like that, when you're in a fight where someone's fighting a cop, I remember I was pissed to get away. He's capable of anything. When you're in a fight like that as a cop, your thought process is, this guy overwhelms me. He's going to get my gun, and I'm done. Yeah. It's over. So immediately when someone starts really, truly resisting you physically, a cop's in a fight first. And the public doesn't understand it. But
Right.
if you're fighting a cop, you're going to do whatever it's necessary. You've already demonstrated.
Already crossed that line.
Already crossed that line. I'm going to do whatever it needs to get. So at that point, you're in a fight for your life. So those cops were so justified. Even though that guy was running away, they started to chase him. When that guy turned and shot that taser at them, the probability of them knowing that that was a taser is nice, those two guys, without any kind of a hearing or any true information whatsoever. And it was criminal. It was criminal. That goes on a lot. And if you notice, you never heard about that. Because they put that to rest, because that was totally justified really quick. Once people started looking at it, going like, what are they supposed to do? You know, what is the scenario that's supposed to happen?
Well, and so how bad is the media in all of this? How much have they become? Because, you know, it's funny, like, it doesn't even seem sometimes like the government is the government anymore. It seems like the government is this LLC kind of, or America's like this LLC of just like corporations and capital interests and that media or something like that. And then police are like, what are we supposed to do? You know, it almost doesn't leave you a place to do anything. You know, is the media like, does it sometimes feel like the media is not on your side?
Yeah, man, you're going into a whole thing recently that just seems like it could be such a drawn out topic. But yeah, what's going on now, I never really dealt with. Again, I never had a scenario where it was so high profile, like the media right now is using a million people. There's about 1 million cops, I think, in America, as a tool, you know, and they're definitely using it. And people don't ever stop to think, that's just a dude that needed a job, that got into this career, that's making a living, that goes home and has a family, is just trying to get back alive, and is dealing with crazy shit all fucking day, and he's been dealing with crazy shit for like 15 years. Why are we allowing this? Why are we allowing this to happen? You know, but nobody wants to be the person that stands and raises their hand because that's the next guy. So yeah, I'm not a media fan. I imagine most of America is not a media fan at this point.
Yeah, I think so too. Look, it's one of the reasons why we've been able to start like tertiary media things like this.
Yes.
You know, because mainstream, it was just too
biased.
It's bad.
They give too. The news got away from telling you what happened, and now they give you their opinion.
Yeah.
And it's based on who that guy is and who's paying that guy or whatever. So.
And it's based a lot of times by people that have grown up in a hypothetical, comfortable type of environment where they've never really they've got divorce papers. They've never really been in an environment where it's like, okay, this is what life is kind of really like for other people, you know.
People got no idea what's going on. People have no idea what's going on in the world. Again, most cops are cynical and callous, and there's a fucking reason for it. Because you spend 20, 30 years of going and dealing with the world shit every single day, you really start getting convinced it's fucked up, man. This is a bad place. You know, I had a young, through my process, I had a baby, and I still to this day go, how could this? I know what he's going to face. I know what could possibly happen. I know what walks the earth. It was so selfish. I wanted a kid so bad. I did it for me. I never even took into consideration what I've done. He's going to have to, who knows what's going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that could happen to him. If you're a good dad, he's going to look up one day at his dad, and he's going to love his dad so much. And he doesn't get to do that if you don't have him. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
And it will be for him. I know what you're saying too. Yeah, I feel you though. Yeah. And I'm not judging what you're saying. I'm just kind of sharing I'm trying to share something that makes you think positively about it too. I'm sure it's amazing being a dad. But yeah, I could imagine that. You're like, what am I bringing somebody really into?
Because this world to me is tough. This world is ugly. This world, you don't, like I said, you don't know what's behind this door. Cops every day get invited into people's homes uninvited. Yeah. You have never been in a home besides a party where people didn't want you. We would go every day into people's homes that didn't want us there, and they had no choice. So every day we're walking into environments that normal people don't go into.
And is it weird right when you walk in, like
it's there's so much training even at that aspect as far as tactical advantage and how you stand, gun leg back, you know, always being. They teach you to watch. I went to so many behavior analysis courses where they would teach you based on the way people sit during interviews, if they're telling the truth, or the way someone's acting when they're sitting, of what could possibly occur next, and everything's tactical. Cops do everything for a reason. Like 90% of the time, they want to bring people out of there. There's a lot that people don't even, you know, there's a lot to it.
Man, it's really giving me. It just gives me a little bit more of an understanding kind of this should almost be a class, I feel like, in school when kids are growing up, you know?
Yes.
To have like a real, like, I don't give a fuck if I could spell, but if I have an understanding of what the people enforcing my community, what their lives are like, and what my responsibility then as a member of the community could be, that would be really, really valuable, I feel like.
Absolutely. I mean, even cops still need it. Before COVID, after I retired, I went in one of my close friends in the police department. I became a patrol sergeant, and it was a female, so good person, totally solid. As time went on, she started to deteriorate, and because my generation had never been taught about it, we would, you know, you just sack the fuck up, you know.
Toughen up, Tom.
That's it. You need a cup of sack the fuck up. Let's get back to business.
Yeah.
So we
harden that vulva, buddy.
That's it. You know, and we just didn't know what it was. Well, long story short, she ended up not showing up for work, and she ended up killing herself. She ended up hanging herself. And I actually went to the house and found her. And with hindsight, looking back at it, there were so many warning signs. There were so many things that she did when she was begging for help. She actually came into the police department at one point and was hysterical and acting crazy. And I had a pretty good relationship with her, so I told my lieutenant, I'll go out and talk to her. I went out and talked to her. And I remember walking in going, holy shit, she's going to kill herself. She's so bad.
Right, like even thinking that, but it's almost like this passive weird thing that we just think.
I said it out loud. She's going to kill herself. She's that crazy. Things are that bad right now is what I was thinking. And doing what cops did, we made a fucking joke out of it. I remember laughing. And a week later, she was dead. You know, and so even with cops, they have to learn about themselves. I was going to do speaking based on my experience from that and some other things where I was going all over the United States doing speaking engagements where I was teaching cops just about mental health, man, you know, knowing what can happen and how it happens and how you're not going to be aware that it's happening. And these are the warning signs. Don't fuck around because you're going to wake up one day. People don't think it'll be that.
And it is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fast.
Sometimes it is.
Well, I think we could be a disparate society, too, in a timeline of society where to corral and to take care of like the drains, like the sieves, the things that are mental health professionals, cops. It could be we're at this kind of tipping point as a society where it's like we've overburdened them, and I don't know that, but you start to wonder like at what point are we just not able to be the ones to like kind of dam or help alleviate whatever trauma or whatever it is, this continuing pieces of pain that are alive in the universe. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah,
it's kind of ethereal, kind of. I think I don't know what ethereal means, but
I understand what you're trying to say. They got to do it better. We got to do better.
So what can we do then? What can we do for cops? What are we doing? So you said that it's important.
It is important, but I mean we're so far down the ladder as far as like that question of what can we do for cops. The first thing, just to get on the ladder, I would say be fair, man. Be fair. Think about it. It's a million. I'm estimating that, but I think there's like a million cops in America. There's a million people. What we're talking about? Let's say 1,000 of them are bad people. 1,000 to identify those people, get rid of them. Absolutely. And I'm not advocating for police. There's no reason for me to.
Right.
I'm being honest with you. I'm not trying to say, oh, cops are this and that, but you need to be fair. You need to be fair with cops. 1,000 of them are bad. Don't go into it with the thought process that you have. Don't participate in what you're seeing. You see people saying, fuck the police, or all cops are bad, or defund the cop. Find a way to assist in that process of going, no, that's not right. We need to identify individuals. We need to have, and people, the argument I have is, well, we can't have one bad cop. You know what I mean? There's too much power. We can't have one bad cop. I agree, but it's also fucking impossible. It's also fucking impossible.
Yeah, it's totally unrealistic, and especially a pressure to put on the people that already have so much pressure on them.
Yes.
And it's not really probably going to change anything. It's just a bunch of battle cry bullshit that doesn't really, in the end, is it really changing anything?
Making us less safe.
Point.
It's making us less safe. So we do have that, dude. I'm telling you, man, we're less safe.
We are.
We're less safe.
It feels less safe out there.
Yeah, we're less safe. Yes, we are, especially here in LA. We are much less safe.
Wow.
Because we have a double whammy out here. We got now it's shifting into where they're getting district attorneys that we're eliminating crime. We're basically saying that there's
no crime.
There's no crime.
Right, like a crime isn't a real thing, and we're not going to press charges for it.
Yeah, like back when I was a cop, like if you went into a CVS and you shoplifted, we would go through a process of identifying, did you go in there with the intent to steal, which is an easy process to do. Where's your wallet? I don't have a wallet. Where's your form of payment? I don't have any form of payment. I have nothing on me. Well, why'd you go into CVS? Well, it's obviously why I went into CVS. You went in there to steal.
Yeah.
So now it's not just a petty theft. Now it's a burglary because you went in there with the intent to steal, which makes it a different crime.
Yeah.
So it's a process of identifying people doing wrong things and trying to get it to stop. I wasn't a perfect kid. I got arrested when I was a kid. I got arrested several times when I was a kid. Fortunately, I came in contact with police officers that from what I remember, were just solid human beings. And I had a demeanor, because of the way I was raised, where I was very respectful, even though I was wrong. So I had a really good interaction, I wasn't stealing, my parents were really strict. I just took their car. First time I ever got arrested, I took my parents' car. 15 years old. I wanted to go see my girlfriend. I came home, went to bed. Next morning I woke up, cops with me. My dad called the cops, had me arrested. Because his thought process is now we're getting into shit where I'm gonna start holding you accountable. I used to look at it and be like, oh, Dad, you're such a dick. How could you do that to me? But I look back at it now and go, thank God. Because I went through enough stuff where one day I went, that's it. I don't want to live like this. Matter of fact, I want to do the opposite. And all my shit was misdemeanors, and I was able to get rid of it and go through the process of becoming a cop. But it made a big difference for me. When you say, like, how do we get rid of that one bad cop? It made a big difference for me where I was legally able to not make mention of the things that occurred to me as a juvenile because I got it expunged in my record, and it's clearly stated that you do not have to make that available.
Okay.
Okay, they do a whole background. They talk to people, and the people that were in my life become a police officer, and it served me well, man, because I knew what it was like to be locked up in an 8x10 room for 23 hours.
Right. You had some semblance of it.
It's a big deal to take away someone's freedom. It's monstrous. It's crippling. You know, I was 16 years old. I did 6 months in juvenile hall for taking my parents' car.
Damn.
That was back in the day. You know,
Yeah.
you kill somebody and you might not get 6 months now.
Yeah.
You know, but my officer eventually, I kept that. Matter of fact, shit. Someone's probably watch the podcast, and my buddies would be like, dude, I never do that about you. But it's just not something that I brought up because it made me feel lesser than the guys I was working with. They had this lifestyle that they deserved to be there, and I really didn't deserve to be there. I just got lucky. But it served me really, really well. I really had an appreciation of that process and what it does to a person. Coming in contact with a cop, being put inside a jail cell, being there for 23 hours, you know, at a time. I was a kid from Orange County. I got put in a jail cell the first day with this kid. It was an Asian kid. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah, it was an Asian kid that was in there, and we started talking about what'd you do, and I said I took my parents' car. And this guy went on the story he was like a watching gang member, and they were on the run, and they were in a hotel, and they had a revolver, and they had played Russian roulette with a thing, and some dude ended up blowing his head off, and they were scared because the gun was stolen, and they put him in the carpet, and they cut the carpet, they rolled him up in the carpet, took him to the San Bernardino Mountains, and lit him on fire. And got away with it for like 6 months. But I shit my pants, man. You know, I mean, when that guy told me that, I was like, holy shit, dude, I was scared to death.
Yeah, fuck, I'm never working in flooring, I know that. But dang, no, that's crazy. If you're in a cell with that dude, suddenly you're like, damn,
That's a kid.
Yeah, especially if you're like, this isn't the avenue I want to be going. Like, if this is even the intersection I'm starting to meet up with the world at, I want to do a U-turn. You were talking about local crime and stuff like that, or this type of break-ins and thievery and robbery. We had this thing that just happened yesterday at the Apple store. Do you see this thing?
No.
And these are these smash and grab things that happen all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, this is somewhere here in California, I think near Tahoe, at an Apple store.
And it seems to be, and for some reason, this seems to be like I don't know if this is like it's like a black culture thing. It seems to be a lot of times this is kind of black guys. I know it's a generalization. Train robbing is probably like a white crime, you know, like different people have sometimes different crimes in their cultures. I don't know if this, there's no way to police this, is there? What do you do here? You hear the people in here like, are we supposed to do something? What do we do? You know?
Well, I do think we have gotten to a point in the world where we are eventually going to have someone with a gun everywhere. I mean, I'm talking security of some kind.
Right.
Like if you go to, like you're talking about like these shootings that they have at schools, we could almost alleviate that tomorrow. Let's take care of that situation tomorrow. And if you go to Israel and you try to walk onto an elementary school, there are 2 highly trained, highly armed military type personnel, usually more than that are guarding that school.
Wow.
That you can't even take pictures. They won't even let you take pictures. That would completely alleviate the situation that we have. If I know they got like school resource officers, but it's one cop and it's big schools.
Yeah, and that's just somebody fucking with a damn whistle. I'm talking about somebody there who's trained.
Yeah, and a cop, highly trained, very visible. If there was a guy right there with a gun, you know, that was in that store. But for some reason, society is still reluctant to go that direction. I understand it. Guns are scary. I understand that aspect of it. But I really feel like it's our only solution. You know, we can alleviate that situation. How do we stop that from going on? The only really way to do that is to hold. That's not the first time those kids go.
No.
Nobody walks into a Apple store and starts ripping fucking phones off the thing with a pack store. Those kids have committed a lot of crimes. I guarantee you those kids have been arrested. At least some of them.
Yeah.
And the problem is the accountability is so low. Like my example, so we're not doing that. And people are seeing this on TV and they're seeing that they're getting away with it. And it's influencing other people to do it. Like, what the fuck, you know?
What are we gonna do?
I want a fucking iPhone 14, shit, you know?
40 iPhones in a computer.
And they don't have that guidance and help change the behavior.
Security in that position, would that be Apple would need to, or does it become a governmental issue? Because it's almost becoming more like we've ostracized our police departments publicly so much.
Police officers at malls in some cities, they have cops at our high schools. They do what they can, but it would require a lot more funding, which I don't quite understand why there isn't more funding. But it would have to be private. It's not like Apple can't afford to totally be behind it as long as there was proper training and communication. We're going to have to go that route. It's eventually going to have to go that route. There's just no other solution.
Yeah, I agree with you. We had this. What about these? They had a thing I was looking at. Zach, if you can find this, it was about they were going to.
Yeah.
San Francisco will allow police to deploy robots that kill.
Yeah, so basically they're gonna. This just came out. A lot of people are talking about it, but the important distinction is that they're not arming them with guns; they're arming them with explosives, and they claim that it would only be used in the most extreme situations. So they won't be armed with guns; it will be explosives.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco Police Department in itself is one that what you're seeing right there, take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure it's completely irrelevant of exactly what's going on. I mean, you can see the title, San Francisco allow police to deploy robots that will kill. That's a pretty absurd statement from what's probably really going on here.
Right. And the Associated Press put this out there. This is crazy.
Yeah.
That they would also do this.
Again,
They're about the most middle of the road. I felt like
it's much like their community. It's a very
hopeful group.
Yeah, a very hopeful group. I mean, they're okay with a lot of stuff. They're really okay with the idea. There's so many things that they do. Let's make really readily available needles for heroin addicts, right? Which I understand a lot of thought process.
Well, they wanted to give swords to homeless people. I remember a couple years ago there was a thing about giving homeless people swords so they could help defend themselves, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing, dude?
Homeless, I mean, there's another great example, man. The homeless situation, we have fucked ourselves on that. We have totally fucked ourselves. When I first started in police work, there really is no available answer for homelessness because it's a mix of people. It's people that want to be there. It's people that are drug addicts. It's people that are mentally incapable. We used to have the process where we would be able to, someone would go, I got a homeless guy, he's taking shit in front of my house. We'd be able to go there, take that person, and alleviate the problem for the person that's calling us. We would take them somewhere else. Where can I take you? Is there anywhere I can take you? Let me take you to 7-Eleven, I'll get you some water, I'll buy you a little something to eat, and you can go on your way. Early on in my career, and I forget the agency, but a cop kind of did that where he took a homeless person away from a situation where someone was calling, drove him to the edge of the city and said, walk that way. So the idea was, you're not my city's problem.
Okay.
And somehow some attorney got a hold of that information and decided that he was going to take this to court because that cop took someone that had not committed a crime and against his will transported him from one location to another, which is the definition of kidnapping. So they ended up going after this cop for kidnapping. So then what ends up happening by case law is it changes the process the way all police departments handle homeless people. And there's no more doing that. So basically, they even made it worse. Then they start saying, oh, you took that guy to jail and you left this cart full of shit here, which is full of
memorabilia, things from growing up, trophies from when he was in T-ball.
I wish. It's usually full of shit, man.
Oh,
it's just disgusting.
Extra urine.
Yeah, socks full of weird shit that he chewed on or whatever. And
they glitter.
Yeah, whatever.
We saw a dude with a whole canister of glitter one time. We're like, what?
Well, I had a homeless guy that was so bad, and when we booked him in, his sock was, he had an athletic sock with stripes on it, filled with cash, $3,000. And he was sitting in a gutter eating dirt, It's just crazy. But people are giving him money. But they start saying that we have to book all their property. You literally got to take that shopping cart, individually go through it, itemize it, process it, put it. So now cops went, oh, hell no.
Right, I'm not doing this now.
Oh, hell no. I don't have the time.
Right.
I don't want the disease. You've made it totally reasonable. So again, society completely screwed themselves on how we as a society can help you with the problem. If you had a homeless guy sitting out here in front of your door, that cop's in a pickle. He can still do things and try to convince this guy to leave, but all the real tools that we had, the real methods we used, the world got rid of it.
Well, why do we, and is it a lot of times it's lawyers that fucking ruin all this shit. The lawyers really have. They've ruined everything.
Civil law has destroyed our country.
It really has.
And in America's, they love civil law. There's so many people getting rich.
Yeah.
You know, off civil law.
Man. But the mental expense and the emotional expense of all of that type of stuff, all of those rules, the laws, the impossibility of it, that the average human, the average American, I think, because this is really a lot of it's American issues. I think we're getting to the point where we're at our tipping point. A lot of people are on medication. A lot of people are stressed beyond the gills. People are not able to have children as easily anymore. Everybody's going through all this fertilization, stuff. I think there's tons of stressors. I think we're getting to that point where it's a little bit at the tipping point. You don't know at a CVS now if you are safe or not. Like I was there the other day, and the makeup lady is now tussling with some fucking 6'4" man in there, and she's just trying to, make sure that this guy doesn't mash up her station, like because the guy's running around taking stuff, right? Yeah. And so then, like, you have people they have to be enforcers now, and she's just the makeup person and the photo guy. It's like they shouldn't have to be enforcers. So it's like, I don't know. We've just gotten ourselves into this place. It feels like a lot of times where the people who are supposed to be helping us add this buffer to society to
coming up, especially now with everything that's going on. Who's going into law enforcement?
Yeah, what's that been like? Has there been lower amounts of people going in? Have you heard or anything?
No. I mean,
But it seems scary, yeah.
They've tightened standards. They've made it harder because the world's going like, the police are doing everything they can to go. We need the best candidates. We don't want these problems again in the future. The testing process of becoming a police officer it's extraordinary. I mean, it's really extraordinary, the tests I had to go through. Psychologists, written tests, physical tests. There's just so many interviews, backgrounds. They went my background. They went talk to everybody. Oh, dude, everybody. They talked to my ex-girlfriends and everybody.
That's a good one.
And they also seal it, so you never get to know what they said.
Really you should get it when you're done.
Dude, on the way out, I knew where it was, and I thought many times, I'm going to go in there and fucking pilf this shit, but I didn't want to fuck with my pension. Who knows what they could do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but who's going to police? Who's going to do it? Who's going to take this job? I remember as a kid, again, I think today I wouldn't be able to be a police officer. Today they require, like, I got my degree when I was in college, so I could become a detective.
Okay.
So I went to college in while I was working. Now they really won't even talk to you in the hiring process unless you have a degree. They're up to the standards. Yeah.
And are they paying more?
Yeah. Well, it's progressive.
Oh, that's good.
A year, it's like 3%. I remember being a kid. I was 21 years old. I was making like $60,000 a year. For a 21-year-old dude, I was big pimping, dude.
Dude.
I was huge. And
I was shooting bullets in the air and damn catching them down, dude.
I always felt like I was being fairly compensated, I guess, because once I got into it, it was so exciting. I hated the weekend. I loved to work. I couldn't wait to get to work the next day. Because what the fuck's going to go on today? That's how it was every day for a long time when I was young. And I always felt like the money was fair, Just to give you an idea, California is the highest paid police officer.
Oh, wow.
They're also the most trained. I'm sure there's somebody that's going to disagree with that somewhere else, but it is.
Okay.
That's why a lot of the stuff you'll see like in no bang on Kentucky, but some police officer in a place like Kentucky, doing something stupid. You're going like, that's crazy. Show cops.
Yeah.
I actually had cops riding with me.
You did?
I did have cops riding. You'd be interested in how that goes, how that process is to get one.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. Remember that, Zach, so we don't forget that.
You watch. I watch cops a lot of times. Just like, oh my god, I can't believe what this guy's doing. Their tacticals, their tactics, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I do feel like you need to pull as many people from different aspects of society, just to have that rounded structure of. I had a lot of compassion, feel for that. Right. And in reality, if they had known everything about me, they would have probably said, "Nah, we're gonna pass on it." And I was successful. I wasn't the best or anything like that, but I was very successful, and I was good at the compassion aspect. I think if you just understood what we're doing. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
You you try to explain to somebody, anytime somebody has to tell that family that your loved one's dead, because they don't know it that way. You know?
Do you try to act like when you walk up? Do you try to act like you don't like? Because they're looking like that would be the part for me. If a cop comes and knocks on my door, do you want to look like you have that information, or is the goal at first to not look like you have that information?
Man, we are now in a conversation. That was one of the probably the hardest aspect of this one, is notifying people that their loved ones dead. And
Take me through one of them.
okay, I'm going to give you a traffic accident. I had a traffic accident where a 16-year-old female was killed. And I went. They start the investigation, and usually they'll take someone that's never done it before or whatever to go do the notification. At that time, I was on patrol, and they said, "Hey, listen, we got to make a notification." By then, it was like 3-4 o'clock. And if you're a parent and your kid's out, and the cop knocks on the door at 4 o'clock in the morning, the blood leaves your face. It just does. You know, that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? And I remember I did many of these, and as they went on, they got way more difficult. But I remember knocking on the door and being so nervous that it felt like my esophagus had seized. Like I literally couldn't talk. I'm thinking they're going to come to the door. I'm not going to be able to talk right now. And I remember it was a mother. She came to the door and she had just woken up. And as soon as she saw me, I didn't have to say it. You know, something was wrong. She knew that something was very wrong. And the process of informing a parent, especially if their child is dead, when you first start doing it, you're bloody crying, and so I'm sorry to inform you, because again, these are the trials of police officers. Right now I feel like I want to cry.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, it just does that to you, and it's I have 1,000. You know what I'm saying? So I remember her getting to the point and her falling on the ground, and as many movies as I've seen of trying to depict police situations, there's nobody and there's nothing that could do that accurately to really depict what that looks like. It's a pain that to this day, you know, I'm probably 20 years now out from SAS. I get the pain that and as you do those and as you go through them, I had a dad that a girl had hung herself, and he was so upset that he grabbed me by the shirt and he started no, and like kind of pushing me back. And he had a Suburban and pushed me into the Suburban. My elbow went to the back window of this thing. That's how hard he pushed me. And I knew what was happening there. He wasn't mad at me. This guy was just so grieving. But as those go on, as those situations occur, and as you do more and more of those, as you introduce officers and take them to do it, it becomes so much more difficult. Being in the car, and I was a sergeant at the time, and I wouldn't send young guys because I just couldn't fathom me doing that to them, because I knew what it's done to me. You know what I mean? So I remember looking at this particular one. It was the morning. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning because the sun was coming up. And I remember seeing them walking in front of the window of their home in the kitchen, and me realizing, okay, I got 45 minutes till my shift's up. I'm going to sit here for 45 more minutes because these are the last 45 minutes of this people's lives. You know what I mean? And because I was at that point in my career, I was crying. Just the thought of doing this. I had my own child now. It just became so much larger now, doing them for so many times. But I sat, it's indescribable. It really, any is gone. And the scenario that you do that is so vast. You know, there's so many old people that live alone. Family lives far away, and no one's really accounting for them, and it's obvious, and they fucking die on Thursday, and by Tuesday the neighbors going, something stinks next door, and there's fucking flies all over the window, and they send you out at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and you got a fucking flashlight, and you're walking up to the house, you look at the window going, you know exactly the smell of death.
Really?
Oh, exactly. If there's something dead and that smell is permeating in the air, I smell it, I'll tell you, something's dead within these parameters.
Do you know it's human usually or not? Can you tell human or not?
No, I don't know that, but I know human. Okay. But and you start going through that. This is you start going through that house, man. You got to kick the door in, because no one answers the door. And it's dark, and you're so fucking scared, and wigged out. that you don't even take the time to hit light switches to turn the light on. You're going in with a flashlight, which makes it a million fucking times worse, you know? It's like, be smart, hit the light switch, at least it's there, but you're going around corners going, okay, this is the fucking door, you know? And I've opened so many doors and seen the most horrific shit, dude, you can ever imagine in your entire life. You know how many dudes die taking shit?
A lot of them.
A lot. Very prevalent for old people. There's actually a medical term for it.
Oh, really? What is it?
I couldn't tell you.
Bring it up, Zach. Get that information
Yeah,
for you.
The pushing of a bowel movement, it stops their heart. I can't tell you how many times I've had dudes on the ground and have to force open the door because their body.
And are they usually like this, or are they more like this?
Blocking the door. That's what I'm saying. You got to push the door.
Oh.
So you're pushing the door, and it's just so gruesome about pushing a body, you know, trying to get around and look at it. And usually they're in, like in August. If you don't find someone for a week in August, they never turn the air conditioning on. That body's in a state of fucking disaster. I mean,
Is it bloated?
that whole process, that's a process. The death process, rigor mortis sets in, it comes out, then you start bloating, you get, you know, I've had them where they're bloated so big that there's big water blisters on their back, and at the corner, I had a little Asian girl dressed to the nines with a little suit on.
Damn, boy.
Yeah, really pretty little girl.
I died as to meet her, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to deal with the coroner, dude. Those are some different people. You gotta be.
Are they really pretty sketched out on some damn Wednesday Addamses, huh?
Yeah. Well, dude, I had a coroner at LA County Coroner's Office that we were in there on an autopsy. It's a whole different story. Autopsies are disgusting. You know, they use saws, they use hedge clippers to cut the rib cages away.
Oh,
Because they canoe them. You know, they take away your rib cages and they take all your guts out. They cut your head. They peel your hair forward so your hair is touching your face. They cut your dome off. Take out your brain. All kinds of wicked stuff. But afterwards, as a homicide investigator, we would go to those because we want to see the trajectory of the bullets and get an autopsy. I had this dude that did an autopsy, gloves covered in blood. He went in to talk to me, and he went into this little lunchroom and got his lunch out. He took off his gloves. This fucking pulled out a sandwich, like a meat sandwich. It had meat in it. As he's talking to me, he's eating the meat sandwich. And I remember digging my fingers into my leg. Oh, just to not think about it because it was making me so nauseous. You know?
yeah, I don't think I could have a damn turkey tom while somebody's just laying there,
Hell no.
you know?
Corners are a different breed. Got to be a different breed to be chopping up people all day.
Yeah, or even just to be taking, like you're taking vitamins, or if you're going to be on an exercise bike or something in the same room as like a body cream. It's so weird, yeah.
Well, anyway, back to the real quick on the Asian girl. She had to flip this body over that was bloated. So she put her in the decomposing. And she threw the rope over the lady, and she went on their side, and she was going to pull this rope so the arm would flip her over, and she'd be able to see the front of her. So she's pulling this rope over, and because the body was so decomposed, it ripped off the skin of the entire arm, and the body fluids of this lady went straight up on her and on her face and on her mouth. It was all over her, and this girl literally, she was shocked for a second, and she's, oh my God, she said some things, and she went over and got some wet wipes on her. She wiped off her face, and she just went back to fucking business.
They just ate a damn butterscotch out of her purse.
Dude, jamming temperature things in her liver and shit. Crazy, man. Crazy.
That's the dark arts, dude. That is when you are
Killer, man. I would suggest anybody, if you find out you're dating someone that's a coroner, that's going to be a strange life.
Yeah, man, that's really going to be, because they're going to want to watch you sleep, you know?
Yeah.
Zachary, if you don't mind.
Oh, I had it. Defecation syncope is the name for it. Syncope.
Okay.
Very
What does it say about it? Can you tell? Just give someone a tell. Defecation syncope describes the vasovagal response that occurs while defecating that results in a loss of consciousness. Wow.
Yeah, for old people.
The loss of consciousness results from bearing down to increase the pressure on the death. God.
It happens pretty often with older people. Something with their heart stops their heart and they die and they're by themselves. Yeah, pretty brutal.
Life is pretty brutal.
Life is. I always felt like it would be a good thing for the world to have some kind of a venue where one cop, one story, and just to give the world the idea of what's going on. Because nobody knows what's going on. You think just the perception of how many police there are. Any given night, I'm going to give you the example of the city of Whittier, which is a pretty big city. there was 4 or 5 cops. That's it. That's it. I mean, that's all that there was. Now, granted, there's a lot of police around, and
Right.
no comes in, but you're not really safe with just 4 or 5 cops. You know what I mean? Like, to this day, I'm telling you, I could rob any bank. I know exactly how to do it.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not gonna say it. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I could absolutely
You
do
can write it down for me.
Yeah, just because there's such a lack of officers, there's such a lack of staff, we're just unsafe. And I think if someone could put something together where they just cops keep saying, this is a story. People start hearing that every day and just go like, dude, the world, stuff that's going on in the world right now, you know, the stuff that goes on every day and has always gone on and always is going to go on. I think people would be a little more understanding of the difficulty of the job, you know, the difficulty of policing the world, you know, maybe be a little more less judgmental, you know, a little less harsh.
Oh, well, I think this conversation alone, and I've always been kind of, pretty much pro-policeman. If there's a bad policeman, I'm be against that person. If there's a bad anything, I'd kind of be against that person, or at least want to investigate what's going on with them. But, you know, we grew up in a real poor environment, so the cops would always hang out around the poor people because we were outside a lot. And so when I was growing up, we'd be outside, so the cops, I think some of them would be on their shit, you know, and they'd stop and check. I feel like you kind of knew the cops better when you were poor because you were outside. There'd be more calls to your neighborhood because somebody was always doing something. There was always some domestic violence, or somebody was, you know, butting some drugs or something small, you know, just some small ball locally. So the cops would be around, so you get to kind of know them, you know. And it was kind of fun in a way, you know. And then one of them would start dating somebody in the neighborhood, you know, a little bit, you know, like not dicey, but just like, you know, I remember chicks thought it was kind of hot to date a cop, you know. When I was growing up, it was like, yeah, I get to date a cop.
But you say that now, it seems crazy. I can't imagine there's any girls going, oh, I want to date a cop.
Yeah.
You really? Who would want to date a cop?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's still a lot of like, you know, America first type people. I think who believe that cops are good people, you know, and so those people would probably be fine with it. I think maybe more scared for the cops. Probably there might be more fear in that sense.
Yeah, the lifestyle. Again, it goes down to they just don't know. You know, it's a tough life. My wife's never caught. You know, tough life. You know, but I'm out now and things are good. But it's a tough life. It's a different life. The world doesn't know what's going on out there. You have no idea what's going on out there. I do.
Yeah.
It's a hard reality to live with. You never feel safe.
Well, it's just not fair that there's not an accurate kind of representation of what goes on. There's not that person you call. You guys are expected to handle so much. Like some people are mentally unwell. Somebody's got a gun, doing sex trafficking. Somebody's trying to hide a kid in their attic. You know, it's like you don't fucking know.
You never know what you're walking into either. Many situations where you think it's one thing and it's something totally different.
Did you get was there a lot of that? Because, you know, a few years ago, sex trafficking was like the big buzz. You know, it was like you'd see things on commercial, like there's 1 million women being sex trafficked in America. And I'm like, that's fucking insane. But I could believe that there's some of it, you know, but I don't think there's 1 million, you know, like you'd see some, every few years there's like a big thing, a big push, you know.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know.
Yeah.
I never really dealt with a lot of that. I don't have a lot of knowledge on that, so it'd be pretty responsible for me to make a comment about that. But in my police career, I dealt with prostitutes, you know. There was a lot of stuff with prostitution.
And were they just trying to survive, most of them, or most of them just women trying to survive, or most of them women that you found that had been that were being abused by a man and used to sex? Money and sex?
You know what? I couldn't answer that because I never really, very rarely would I have an intimate conversation with someone I was dealing with.
Right.
I deal with enough. I don't want to know the story. The story's irrelevant. You know, if you start getting into the stories, it kind of change the way you handle stuff. The reality of it is that you were soliciting. I'm just dealing with soliciting. You know, if they go into a story of, oh my God, my dad raped me and this and that, as a human being, I think you tend to be like, oh my God, this poor thing. I just got to deal with the situation because if she gives me a story and I let her off because her story's sad, well, how fair is it the next prostitute that I arrest them just because I don't listen to their story? It's another difficulty, you know?
Right.
That plays a lot with tickets. You know, tickets are a big deal, dude. everyone gets pulled over and they want to get out of the ticket. You know, come on, man, help me out, do it. But the reality of it is, if you were driving 75 miles per hour and I pulled you over, and I notice who you are, you're a cool guy, or we have a conversation, or you're very upfront and go, totally my fault, totally so sorry. And I go, okay, man, just slow down. The next guy I pull over is doing the same exact thing. I don't give him the opportunity to talk because maybe I'm in a rush or I don't know who he is. And I give him a ticket. Well, now I've done something wrong, right? You know what I mean? I've done something wrong. So there's a real dilemma with that. So when you start giving people breaks, when they're the next person you're doing wrong. So that's an aspect people don't really think of. So if you're really doing policing right, there is no break. Right. But we all want them to deal with it right. And I dealt with it great.
And is it a real thing that you have to like? People are like, all right, we the city needs to make money. We need $10. Everybody's guilty when they get pulled 99% of the time.
Yes.
So is that a real thing? It's like, hey, we got to make sure if you're letting people off, we can't let them off anymore.
It's the team average. The team being the watches.
Okay.
So day watch is usually guys that have been on for a long time that just want to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Those guys don't do shit. I mean, they're doing the absolute minimum because they're burnout, they're tired, they're old. Their tickets are going to be really super low. So what the department does is they'll take a guy fresh out of the academy, you can't wait to write some tickets, and they'll throw him on day watch. So now that guy's writing 40 tickets.
Fucking penmanship Henry out there.
Yeah, just doing it, for everything. Yeah. So they'll put that guy on the watch and he'll write 40 tickets in a month. Now the expectation is for everyone else, it's got to be at about 233 or you're going to get on your eval. So is there a quota? No, there is no quota. We just got to be within the team average, which is the average that we should be. Right? Again, civil liability. It's a way to be a state.
Let's get you another water. I got to pee.
Yeah, I got to pee too.
We can jump back on.
Yeah. My dad was a great dude, man. There was no bullshit.
Really?
Bullshit. He dirt poor, grew up in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
He backyard was a cemetery. Dad was a drunk, died young. The whole he was white trash. My dad was self-proclaimed white trash.
Yeah.
Had nothing. Shoes with holes, all the stories and shit. But wow. And his brother became a doctor.
Wow, that's huge.
They came from nothing.
Oh, it's huge. When you come from nothing, man, for somebody to be a fucking doctor. I remember in our neighborhood, somebody was a lunch lady. And we were like, damn, Miss Annie. She made it.
Well, you say that, but his brother, who became a doctor, the guy's like a fucking serial killer.
Really?
Yeah, he got raided by the SWAT. He was one of the guys that was writing prescriptions.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Well, that whole thing was crazy. Did you see that Dope Sick?
Yeah, very good.
How insane is that?
See a second?
Dope Sick. It was like that document. It was like a television show. I think it was on Hulu.
I watched it. I'm trying to think what the content was.
It was like Michael. Who was in it? Zach.
Yes.
And then he got hooked.
That was huge. I'll tell you something. I was a police officer. I was in Narcs during the heart of that
opioid epidemic.
And
yeah, and it was some Jewish family, I think, that ran Sackler family. What were they?
That actually owned the business.
Yes. And they kept compromising.
Sackler family.
They kept compromising officials and getting them to work. And
well, at the time it was going on, they started noticing that they would catch guys coming out of dentist's office. And they would have different kinds of containers. One of the ones that was real prevalent for some reason was these little square like lunch coolers, and they'd have them filled with prescription bottles. We call them fishers. What they would do is they would go to these low-end doctors, dentists, and they would just find these doctors that go, "Oh, my back hurts." They go, "Oh, okay, let me write you a prescription."
Is that a little bit? Or just like this? Yeah.
Okay. They'd find all these doctors that would fill prescriptions. They would go to like 10 doctors a day, and we catch them, and they'd have like 1,000 pills. And we start going, "This is really becoming prevalent. We're finding this more and more." And I think we actually had a guy OD out front of a dentist's office, and somehow we found his prescription that the prescription was from that dentist. And that's how we kind of got turned on, and it started going in motion, is finding out what's going on here, man. And said, these doctors somehow are making tremendous amounts of money billing insurance by these guys coming in saying my knee hurts, and them just give them a prescription.
Right.
bill the insurance, get a bunch of money, knowing this guy's going to be back in about 3 days. I'm just going to do it again. You know what I mean? And these guys would go to like 5, 6, 7 doctors.
Yeah, they had that documentary about a kid in New Orleans that got murdered buying some pills, and it led to the dad like searching out this entire like kind of pill farming thing that was going on there. I can't remember the name of that. It was pretty fascinating.
The pharmacist?
The pharmacist, that was it. I actually tried to reach out to that dad and even have him come on as a guest. I mean, the story is just so tragic. But then he helps bust this doctor who was, giving out insane amounts of pills every day. They would show like they had like footage outside of her pharmacy or whatever, and they'd have like 50, 60 people out there just waiting at up to like 1 a.m. and they'd have a security guard like having them go in one at a time, and she was just sitting in there writing scripts. When they finally found her, she was geeked out to the gills.
Yeah,
just insane. Was there ever instances where cops would start using the to help relieve some of their own like PTSD?
I'm trying to think firsthand if I know. I don't really. Drinking. There was always guys that always drank, but that's always been socially acceptable.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. Yeah, I'm just thinking because the opioids, it's such an easy thing to just take and use. You know,
it's a good example that you were saying. Like, and this is one that I'm kind of reluctant because I don't want to cause any problems for people in police work right now. But polling for general society, police departments are staffed by people from the community. They go through a hiring process. And we get everything. And this is a good example of people judging the cops based on the actions of one person or a dozen or so. We actually at my police department had 2 different cops. One I worked with forever. One I knew right off the bat that were child molesters. That we found out they were child molesters. As a matter of fact, the one officer that we caught, the first one, he molested the son of one of our other officers, our best friends. So again, you're talking about a situation where the world goes, we can't even have one bad cop. Oh, we're with you.
Right, we're with you, but we're also just a piece of society.
And we're dealing with it too. Yeah, we're dealing with it too. As soon as we find out that it's there, we obviously this guy was gone in prison, and we handled that situation. But we're no different than anybody else. The cops are no different than the people that are cops are no different than anybody else.
Yeah, it's kind of funny if you took a group of guys and you just showed me a group of guys. I don't know if I know if they were cops or not unless you put the uniforms on them, you know?
Certain ones.
Right, some guys, yeah.
Some guys got the high and tight and the big mustache, and, they're always wearing a fanny pack.
Yeah.
But you know what? So, right? As soon as you see that guy, though, even cops look at that guy and go like, dude, you're mowing your fucking lawn, put your gun away,
Right, cop it down a little.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, well, then those are the guys that end up being 23 years old, going to the nightclub with a gun on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which
right, like I'm a cop. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, how stupid can you be? How stupid can you be going into a drinking situation carrying a gun? Because if someone punches you in the face, what are you going to do?
Yeah, punch them with a bullet.
Yeah, that's where you see stuff like that.
Gun them, yeah, for sure. There was a couple of. What do you think about this? So when you got into detectiving, did you detective anything like this Idaho murder? Do you follow that kind of stuff?
Where I was at, I didn't have anything particularly high profile. I had a lot of domestic situations, which, real quick, on one, this is a good example for you too, for hotels. I'll give you a little information on hotels. You never know what goes on in hotels, man. Any hotel room you're in, I'm going to give you a little touch. We had a situation on a murder where a guy got arrested for domestic violence and taken into custody. For whatever reason, the judge sentenced him to 90 days, but decided he's going to give him 24 hours to get his affairs in order before he was forced to go into custody, which is nuts, which is totally, totally nuts. So he releases this guy. This guy immediately goes and kidnaps the girl that he beat. Takes her to a hotel in our city. In the hotel, he executes her. Shoots her in the back of the head. She falls on the bed and then blows his head off. He actually puts that to his thing, so he's on the seat. The brains and everything on the ceiling. So when we get a cleaning lady tried to get in because he had put a table against the door and sees it, calls us. We get there. We push open the door. One of those cheap polyester type bedspreads, and it's almost holds water, so when she bled out, it accumulated in that thing. So her face was in the blood where you couldn't see any of her face. She was face down, and it was already coagulating on top, so it was like a giant scab on top. You know what I'm saying? He was all over the ceiling and falling back. We do the investigation, we get everything done. Totally gruesome, totally gross. It was like late, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning that we leave. And the next day I didn't come in. I came in the next day and I needed to get some information from the hotel. So I went back to the hotel and I go into the office. And so I'm going in the office. This is less than 24 hours. Well, a little bit over 24 hours. And I look up and there's a fucking family. They're going out to go about and do whatever they're going to do. And I walk in the office and said, dude, you rented that hotel now? How did you get it clean? This guy went on to explain to me how they have people on standby and you got it clean and they painted this, painted that. No mention of that family. It's 24 hours. Double murder. Crazy. That's a small story.
Dang, man, that's kind
Yeah.
of we'll leave the light on for you, huh?
Yeah, no shit. That's kind of hotel it was. Yeah. Crazy. Again, a perfect example. The world just doesn't know what walks the earth.
Well, it's just another example also of, are we processing the travesties that happen? Are we just, are we still able, how much travesty and, stuff has built up that we just can't even process as a society,
Yeah.
Even things like that. It's like turning around, like, is there a little fucking slept in the horror of it, 2 deceased people 9 hours after the day.
Yeah, for real.
I look at it, and some of that's kind of like this, it's more this, imaginative sort of thinking, but I don't know how much of it is,
Well, I also came up in the meth lab time.
Oh, yeah.
California was full of meth labs when I first started.
Eyes have been turned on Ukraine and had not been paying close attention there before. And so whether it's hydrogen or other resources, whether it stabilizes and they begin to rebuild their economy, they'll have lots of support for new initiatives, whether it be hydrogen or otherwise, because there are a lot of people with potential there who might have overlooked Ukraine. McCarthy's come up, so he may have an answer. Just to indirectly answer this here, Michael, and just to say, those last I checked, those I keep pronouncing here, Cherno those gas rigs in the Black Sea. If you guys remember, they were used for Russian special ops, were using them as a base in Ukraine to attack them. Those have been burning on the firm's data since, last summer. So just to answer this indirectly, I doubt there's going to be any production in the Black Sea anytime soon. Seeing how those platforms that were in existence haven't even been occupied since then, and the fires are still burning on them. So just due to the fact that that's a contested area, I doubt you're going to see any economic activity. Okay, well, thanks for that. And Karen, thanks for your question. I know that it's, this is a probability response, but we'll probably give you some insight. So, in programming for the show, I have sort of tools and resources. We try to get a guest in. We will discuss some current events, just before moving to sort of our background issue, which is sort of an issue of either direct espionage or transnational repression. Just before that, I wanted to highlight a handful of examples from the last few days of what I think are good, lucent posts, because I like to work in the ootd angle, so that we don't forget that is item one. The first item there, it states the Washington Post got access to more than 900 new photographs of the day that I believe the raid on Bin Laden's hideout occurred. The reason I'm putting this one up is because it was as a result of a Freedom of Information Act application, I believe by this account, FOIA named. And first of all, it caught my eye because the way they've compiled the photos into a video presentation was eye-catching. But then it made me think, that's one aspect of open source investigation that we haven't discussed in the space, and that is freedom of information requests. And it's not just the United States. Many countries have similar laws in place. And just to mention that if anybody who's listening has any professional experience in making requests under these sorts of public disclosure laws, that it would be interesting to maybe hold a session to describe how they work, the cost, the types of persistence that are required in order to make them effective. And so I just wanted to put it out there to the group that if you have experience with freedom of information requests, please let me know, and we'll try and set up a conversation about it in the future. I've added a few items to the nest, so it's shifted around a little bit. I wanted to highlight another aspect. We've had some conversations lately about in radio use and sort of signals intelligence at the amateur level. And so the tweet that's up there by JD Work is interesting to me. Some of you may know that there was a lander that was attempting to be put onto the moon, I believe by a Japanese company. And this account noted, so that lander failed. They lost contact with it a few moments before it was to be contacted. And it's believed to have been lost. And interestingly, it's a commercial product, and it had transmitting in bands that can be heard by amateur radio operators around the world. And so they were listening in on the band, and they could tell the moment that it failed, which is really interesting. Just exploring the idea of this potentially being one of the first examples of lucid possible use on a body other than the Earth. Because obviously people interact via radio with the International Space Station and with satellites, but in terms of activity on the moon, this was the first example I had heard of. And so I wanted to highlight it here. The second item in the nest, we've discussed in the space for various reasons, the use of illegal ship-to-ship transfers of oil to get around. It has economic implications, it has security implications, and this was a good article that was put together by the Financial Times on ships passing through the Kerch Strait, which are carrying branded goods or oil, for example, that will be subject to was subject to the oil price cap. And since their intention is to cross into waters where they can then with another ship and offload the oil so that it looks like it's from a foreign source, they're turning their AIS systems off. And so it's sort of obvious in the data now that, particularly around the Kerch Strait, where it's a bottleneck that these ships pass through, the AIS can be turned off. This will tie in, I may mention it later on, but having seen this, some politicians are now suggesting that any ship that is seen turning off its AIS, not just in the Kerch Strait, but sort of around the world, if they turn off those systems with more than a certain frequency, and I'm not sure what that frequency would be exactly, that automatically their owners would then be added to sanctions lists. And this is the idea of we're going to sanction you, not necessarily because we see you committing the crime, but because we see you taking actions that look like they're attempting to cover. And so I thought this was an interesting bit of open source investigation. Thanks, go ahead.
This kind of ties into something we've seen commented on by Lloyd's List and a couple of other that insurance companies and others who provide services to shippers are starting to really think about how those people present information. And so it's no longer about are you evading sanctions, it's more about now can you prove to me that you aren't evading sanctions? Because otherwise, I just don't want to work with you. It's not worth my time and my effort to prove that you're not evading sanctions. And so, not providing that information freely. And I expect that that's kind of the trend that we're going to continue to see, which in some ways is a really good thing, but it also will eventually kind of create a black market for ships that are going to operate outside of our school that will be the articles I read didn't actually name the insurers as yet, but I can try and find the ones comment about that. See if I can bring it up.
It's very new. Shipping insurance realized until the last few months that the protection and indemnity, they're like mutual insurance laws, and I believe there are 9 major ones. So it's actually really tightly into.
My brain just like, sorry. Our government's putting pressure on consumers, but isn't that has them saying it? Now starting to take steps to actually do something about sanctions invasions and enforcing it. As soon as they start asking questions, then the insurers and others who have to answer those questions are and have to put time and effort and a lot of money into finding the answers and the proof for those questions. That's when you start to see that happening. So this week in particular, the last 2 weeks, I guess, we've seen
Absolutely. I mean, if a green frog, I'm not picking on that because I do love that. Yeah, buy those Debbie, right? But I mean, Brooklyn's in fun, okay? And I just see, in fact, he's trying to lean on. I guarantee, I don't guarantee, but I swear I can see something happening big with the site that wrote the Telegram. I think this would be the first billion token in 2023. Billion meme token. So it's got potential to run. It's got really good people, especially with you guys. A ton of people really backing us and pushing us. Let's go get back in Telegram. Let's go do some tweets. Let's get us running up to 5 million, because once we hit 5 million, guys, man. All right. Thanks, man, for saying that. Hey, Robbie, you said you want to speak. If you want to speak, go ahead. We'll give you a minute to try to speak.
Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted you all to know that I think that Joe Rogan has a lot of everybody to know that I have actually been streaming Joe Rogan podcast on Twitter Spaces 24/7 for the last few weeks. If you ever want to check those out, I also stream my life online. I have more data online than anyone in global history. I love Joe Rogan, love the people around him. I think that he's a really open-minded individual. I like how he pushes the limit with some of his discussions on UFOs, technology, psychedelics, and I think that as humanity and society learns more about these, they will seek him as a source of as the primary source of a lot of this information. And I really think that it perhaps may make this token, like people were saying, $1 billion token in 2023. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man, welcome, dude. I really appreciate it. If you haven't gone to our Telegram, come join our Telegram. I dropped the link in the message here. But definitely, tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody, jump on here. I do. I mean, I'm not much of a huge. Well, I take that back. I am pretty much of a conspiracy theorist now that I'm older at my age. I'm a little bit cheated, not cheated, cheated. And I'm cheated by a lot of people. But now I'm been cheated in life. Yeah, I mean, it's why I got DeFi, man. I'm seeking the truth, man. Everybody's seeking the truth. Everybody wants something that's not like inflationary. Man. You just keep printing. I mean, it's liars, I'm just anti-media. I'm anti all that shit. One of the things too that I'm into is astral projection. I'm in the CIA. That's some pretty funky crap, man. But yeah, man, it'd be fun. It would be an honor, absolute honor to ever have Ruben acknowledge us and to try and, accept the fact that DeFi is the truth as well. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to better our lives. We're just trying to give people the opportunity to be free. And love how it's like a global world, part of the more wealthier countries. I've seen what the inform really is compared to the United States. And I've grown up poor here in the United States, which, we have way more a better life than around the world. And I think that, I think it DeFi, has an opportunity to really help people throughout the world. And I think it's a very global community. And so I think I love that aspect of it. So stop by and see us on our Telegram. Wall Street, if you got anything else to say or be off, let us know. Thank you, Robbie, for coming up.
Rubber.
Yeah, man, absolutely, 100%, man. I mean, changing lives, and I really do think that people at DeFi are better people, not better people. I just think that they're naturally, like, they want to help others. Or I think that when, you take that risk, you get that reward. I think that it's spread around a lot more. And so just come by, send us a telegram, super. What's that? To overnight, you know, I mean, give me a break. I mean, it just doesn't happen in regular life. So, take your risks, you'll get higher rewards. I tell you, if you just join the Telegram, you'll see how open we are. Just the fact that we've got a good 20, 30 people on the Telegram page, you know, and a lot of these people I see are in that Telegram. You know, let's just keep spreading the word. Let's just keep doing some things. What we say, boss?
Motor running.
Meth labs were scary, man. I mean, you usually found a meth lab. A lot of the times you would discover a meth lab because it blow up. So there's a vault. They blew up all the time.
You can't shoot in there.
No. Shit, you found a meth lab, you had to back out quick because, I mean, meth is just made out of red lye and Coleman lantern fluid, lighter fluid, just all kinds of shit that you have no business ingesting. You know what I mean? It's all volatile and there's gases and they always blow up.
I think it's okay to have a little.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, have you ever called it? Some people do sex on meth for a long time, right?
Yeah, with a dildo with a coating. Yeah, it's all right to take it back. Yeah, I mean, tweakers are so different than any other drug. Heroin addicts, marijuana, dude, we'll type real quick on marijuana. Police work in marijuana, I identified really quick, I'm not a marijuana advocate, but I identified really quick that this is contacts best contacts. I identified really early that this is something that's just, it needs to go away. Every dude that gets drunk, that was legal and this is not. I can go on forever and tell you about that.
It is ridiculous. And why do we have those laws against marijuana?
Because white people, you know, back in the day,
Yeah.
just hysteria. They didn't know what it was. They didn't understand. So I don't know why. But
Devil's lettuce or whatever they're
all
called.
that shit.
Yeah.
But we're getting better. California's good. The rest of the world's getting better. I really believe they should be legal everywhere for sure, 100%. But drugs, as far as drug goes, heroin addicts, they do heroin. They stay home. They nod out. Right. Pills, stay home. You know,
Right.
marijuana, the fun. Nitrous oxide, whatever drug you talk about, it's not. He cannot stay home. He's got to get to work.
Wow.
And it's always at night. You know, that's when we get to work. We would find tweakers. They had all these different processes of how they get their money. Copper was a real big one. They loved copper. They would wipe out whole housing tracts, you know, of their copper. But you get the occasional one, which I had one. Actually, I think I had two. Where they would go into it, coming down it that were like 20-inch in diameter. You know what I mean? Just branch off that, but it's out and it'd be live. So it would cook them, dude. I mean, they would instantly just get electrocuted, and either a fire or there'd be different ways that we become aware of it, that we get there. But by the time you got there, these guys would be onion rings. I mean, onion rings.
Because they've just been flowing through them. And what if they start to look like kind of like a jerky? Do they start to look like
burnt, completely, totally burnt? Wow. Yeah, completely.
Does they almost look fake?
Yes, a lot of that shit looks fake. A lot of that stuff that's really brutal. I had an industrial accident where a guy got sucked into a turbine. It was a big giant piece of machinery that had this like shaft that was a spinning shaft that came out of the engine. It was about 3 feet off the ground, I'd say. And it ran to another engine of some type, and they had that covered with metal gates, so that thing's metal, no one could touch it. It was in the front. Well, these guys in the warehouse were playing football. The dude threw the football and he missed it, and it went into where those things were. So this dumbass decided to step over the gate where those things are spinning a billion miles an hour to get the football, and the sweater he had tied around his waist got sucked into it, and it taffied him. It sucked him into the piston and wrapped him around it. And by the time he was completely wrapped up into it, his head had been hitting the concrete so many times that it was going around that it emptied his insides perfectly. So it was on the ceiling, on the back wall, and then shot across the thing. So when we got there, they were in such panic they hadn't even shut off the machinery. So this thing was going, and you're hearing this guy's head, not ding, 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 ding. By then it was like a wet noodle, a giant wet noodle. Just disgusting, dude. And you told them, why did you turn this off? And they said stop. We don't want to see it. We don't want to stop. We don't want to see it. We don't know what to do. So when you turn that thing off and you see that dude wrapped up in there, and the fact that, dude, you want to talk about fake. You know what I mean? I mean, it looked totally fake. It didn't look like a human being at all.
The cops have to respond.
Oh yeah, anything that happens like that. Any industrial, cops are always the first on everything. Because firemen are at the station playing video games.
Yeah. Oh, they're having hot dogs.
Hell yeah.
Dude, I used to date a fireman's daughter, dude. They'd invite me, anything they were doing, all they were doing, hot dogs.
Best job ever.
Every time, dude. They're like, we're doing this big event. I get to the event every time. It was 11 dudes sitting down eating hot dogs.
Having a good time, playing games, watching the best job. The one thing cops and firemen have in common is they all want to be firemen.
Really?
Oh hell yeah, dude! If I can go back in time, best job. Yeah, I got nothing but admiration for them, dude. And the world loves them. The world loves firemen, dude. They ain't holding nobody accountable. And everything's a science too. Firemen, firemen hate me. They do see all the tragedy and death, and I feel for them in that. But the other side of it is that everybody loves them.
Yeah.
Because all they're doing is save. It's a fire. Right? If it comes in contact with that, we know what's going to happen. If the wind's blowing this way, we know what's going to happen. It's all pretty predictable. It's not that thing. There's aspects that are dangerous, but
Yeah, you guys, there's a lot more. It's a lot more hypothesizing at the moment.
yes.
There's not like a lot of.
Even house fires. If there's a house fire, cops are always the first ones on it.
Dude, I'd shoot if I saw a house fire. I'd shoot at it. That's who I'd be. That
Well,
first guy.
again, man, the expectation is if you're a cop, you get there and someone's screaming, "My baby's inside! My baby!" Oh hell yeah! Go to an award ceremony for the end of the year at a police department. There's always at least one cop that went into a burning building to help somebody. Wow! Because firemen takes a while to get through.
Yeah. Well, also, it's like it's so hard to get a group of guys that do anything together, especially.
Yeah.
And that truck is so hard to get through. It's like get them a little. I guess you have to have water in it. Huh? Well, the water's already there.
Yeah. I think they're already full. I don't know, man. Our relationship with cops and firemen is kind of crazy. When I was on graveyard, just because I was so jealous of the life they lived and things, I would call them out for anything. 3:00 in the morning, dude. I was like, "You're not feeling good, man. You need to be seen by a paramedic. All right, let me hook this up." We need paramedics. And they knew it because we eventually become friends because they're at the same station.
Yeah, totally.
They would see me and be upset, but
I love stopping by fire stations, man. Fire dudes have always been cool. It's
everyone's cheering them, waving flags.
Yeah. What do you think is like one of the biggest problems that's facing police right now? I mean, I know you said some of the PTSD, and I see you said low staffing too, or the fear that people don't like a bad.
Saying bad public image is not doing good justice. The biggest issues for police right now, first and foremost, it always has been, but they're now just starting to acknowledge it, talk about it, get little programs in place. Right now, he's working in a religious program that reaches out and helps cops and firemen and first responders with mental wellness.
That's what they call it.
Charter Oaks Academy, not Charter Oaks Academy, Charter Oaks something. He just made me aware that this one police department in the last couple months, 600 cops killed themselves. You just don't hear about that because it's bad publicity. Cops don't even want that out. It's a scary thing when someone says, "Oh, cops are all killing themselves." Wow, all the cops are unstable. There just is no good publicity for cops. So, and what's happened recently? What happened this last time with the riots and the political aspect that got involved and allowed it to continue in the way it was scared to do their job. They're just scared to do their job.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, the public doesn't understand. It's when a guy comes, it's difficult to describe, but it's life and death. You know, cops shouldn't have to die just because, you know, the people want the fight to be fair. There is no fight here. My job is to get him in custody and take him before a magistrate. That's it.
Right.
And I got to do what I got to do to get him in custody. But if this guy's fighting me the way he is, he'll kill me. I have to think he'll kill me to get away. I have no choice.
Yeah. Especially if a guy that's already killed other people or done things, you know,
Yes.
like, this is a bad guy. It's not a good guy
Yes.
who's here on the ground. It's like, this ain't a great guy,
Yes.
you know? This ain't a guy who's been doing great stuff or learning Spanish or something all day. This is somebody who has been doing crime. How big is race?
I was just going to say
Is
that.
that where it gets to?
Um,
Is that like become a big problem?
I can only give you my experience.
Right.
So I'm only speaking for me. I worked in 2 different police departments. In the 2 police departments I worked in, one of the communities was predominantly black, South Central. The other was predominantly Hispanic, white, you know, whatever. The statement that the police are systematically racist, I know for 100% is not true. Because I was part of the police. I was part of these 2 police departments. And if it was there, I'd tell you. Did I see it? I absolutely did. In my entire career in the field, I saw 2 guys that I felt like that guy is treating that person different based on the color of his skin. Okay?
Not too bad over the whole course of it.
The whole course. One guy was blatant. It was blatant. You know what I mean? And they actually got rid of him relatively quick. The other guy wasn't as blatant, but it did appear that way. What is the reality of it is that when you work in a community, usually that community it's predominantly something.
Oh, yeah.
It's predominantly something. And it's not that because in my experience in my police departments, I worked with black guys, Hispanic guys, Asian guys. We were everything with women, you know.
Especially California.
Yes, everything was represented. And within those walls, it didn't matter. You know what I mean? If it did exist, it was something that we did amongst each other in jest.
Right.
Like, don't treat anyone any different because of the color of skin. Unfortunately, what would happen is that you'd be in these communities and you would develop, I don't even like to use the word prejudice, but you would develop feelings about the way these communities operate because you're constantly coming in contact with the worst of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Constantly in any scenario.
Right. If I'm working in an all black community, or predominantly black, predominantly Latino community, and I'm an officer, then I'm coming in contact with the bad guys from that community.
Yes, you're dealing with the bad guys, and you start to develop over years and years and years of the same. And there are unique aspects to different types of communities. You know, the crimes and the way the things that people do in the Hispanic community are different than the black community, different than the white community, different than the Asian community.
Yeah.
So there are things that go on that are repetitive, where you start getting calloused towards it. So it wasn't a matter of people being racially prejudiced. It was a matter of being, it's a terrible word, but prejudiced against specific aspects of a culture. You know, specific aspects of a culture. Like, I can give you ones that aren't very controversial. There's a lot of the Hispanic community is really divided up. There's that generation of Hispanic people that come here, hardworking, kind, loving, family, just good people.
Right.
You know what I mean? You go like, hey man, come stay with me for a week. I didn't even think about it. But they were super, super hard drink o'clock in the morning, and they're all beating the shit out of each other because they're all so drunk, you know? Or at a 2-year-old's birthday party. You get there and go like, it's a fucking 2-year-old's birthday party. Why are you guys drunk? And it's 3 o'clock in the morning. But it was prevalent. So you would get calloused towards that.
Oh, yeah. And it's fun getting fucked up around a kid sometimes, you know, unless shit gets real weird.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that too. But in every community that I dealt with, you would have that. People would start identifying stuff. And things would start becoming, you would develop calluses towards it.
Right.
But
Yeah, like
systematic
some of this
racism,
culture, some of this. You
I'm not going to judge. Right? A situation where he's got his knee on his neck, I'm not going to judge because there's no reason why that guy didn't, after 10 to 15 seconds, stand up and try to put that guy back into the car.
Right.
So what he started doing, and the world insinuated that guy's racist. Well, we don't know if that had anything to do with the color of that guy's skin. All we do know is that guy crossed the line and should face consequences because he started administering punishment at where he was at, and that is not his job. His job is in custody, and even if in his thought process his intent was not to administer punishment, he should know better than to be in that situation for any length of time because it can cause harm. That guy was wrong, right? But to insinuate that it was race-based, and I didn't watch it, but I don't think anything ever even came out where there was ever anything in this guy's background where there was any instance of racism whatsoever.
Yeah.
Proof of that, they would have put it out everywhere.
Yeah.
If they had found something, it would have been everywhere.
Well, it's interesting now too because almost the race narrative is starting to evaporate over time because, and I think in some communities, obviously in the South, there's a ton of that. There's historical like biases and like Black people didn't have opportunities or money; they had to do what they could to survive.
Yes.
And then you have cops who were predominantly white, probably, and they were policing crimes, and crime is a lot of times things you have to use to survive,
Yes.
like at times in the past, but it's interesting that, because now it's like police forces are getting pretty diverse.
Super diverse.
Right. And so I've almost wondered, would it be better to have a policeman of that ethnicity show up,
Absolutely.
And
they're all starting to go towards that.
Yeah.
They are. My police department is when I started, predominantly white. When I left, it's getting predominantly Hispanic.
Yeah.
And I think that's smart. I think it's actually smart. Does it make it a little harder for the guy that's white that wants to get a job? Well, he's just gonna have to find a different community, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely going that direction. And it's
It's almost like they should have it. Suspects and 2 black suspects. Let's send a black police officer and a white police officer.
If you, unfortunately, in police work, you don't have that time to go. I guess a dispatcher could.
Right.
They would know based on what they have out there of who to send to what. But again, you're policing specific areas. It would be harder than you think.
Right, and it's crazy that we're having to even think about that kind of stuff, right? But it's like you get so many like civil lawsuits and so many. It's just like we've just taxed ourselves into fucking guilt. It's like
I don't even think that would, from my experience, that's not even a cure-all. Well, yeah, it will, and I think it's a good move, but it's not a cure-all because I've been at scenes where a guy I was with, a black officer, and I've seen people attack him just like they were attacking me. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't really about, they hated that guy because of the uniform. I mean, that guy that with my name tag being white, he didn't know who I was. The way he was attacking me and all that, it was my uniform. And the fact, on top of it, I see them do the same thing. It's just they don't like the police. They just don't like the police. There's just certain people who don't like the police.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because it's like some cultures, like black culture, never really had a like. America was always kind of a white culture country, probably. I mean, there was diversity for sure, but I think like the people that ran the country, only now are you seeing a lot more. Society getting really pretty diverse, So I think you're starting to see what these other cultures, what they even like to have in society, or what they like their societies to be like.
Yes.
And so I think you're seeing like a merging of that. Like some societies, they might not like to have any rules or any policing.
That have more problems. If you completely took the police out and they knew the police, they would implode. There would be no community. There would be no community because criminals are going to be criminals. People are they're going to feed on the weak, knowing that there's nothing. How we do it is just going to continue to evolve. But it's right now. It's good. There's a good basis in place. What's happening to them is totally unfair. But we just got to get through this, and good will come of this.
Amen.
It's unfortunate, but good will come of this. Good came of Rodney King. Great things came of the Rodney King accident. It really, I saw it. I lived it. I watched the change. Oh, absolutely. Slowly get better. Things slowly improve on the way they handle stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely getting better, and it's going to get better. But we have, I just hope they continue to be fair. There's a lot of good dudes. They're just
Oh yeah. Dude, I think I'm grateful for it, man. I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, they deal with a lot of stuff. Not everybody sees someone blow their head off. You know what I mean? Try that once. See how that changes your life. Really, take one person and watch someone in front of them blow their head off, and then see how it changes. Do an experiment. Follow that guy around. See how that changes life. Now take that guy, the same guy, do it for 20 years every single day. You know, what do you expect? You know,
Yeah, I can't. I lose it if somebody has left like a big thing, a piece of chunk of hair. Like if they had a
Right.
bunch of hair in the drain, I would like, yeah, I couldn't even. That makes me nervous.
and probably the thought about it going back. Like the example of that, I watched the guy put a double barrel shotgun in his mouth when his mom was standing right beside him and blow his head off. Yeah, standing in the doorway. Remember back in the day in the older houses in Whittier, they had those screen doors, you know, the decorative stuff on the front. It was a screen door. The mom came running out screaming, "Hey, my son, he's suicidal." And she kind of got behind me by the car, and I looked over at the house. The door was open, the screen door was there, and the guy walked right up to the screen door. He had one of those old school double barrel shotguns, stuck it in his mouth, and pulled the trigger. His head expanded like a cartoon. The gases expanded his head. It was I can't do justice in trying to get you to understand what it looked like. Mom freaking out. Just the dynamics of that scenario. That's another right there. Then on top of it, I had to go inside the house and I'm pushing the screen door to get this guy because he basically Las Vegas hotel explosion ball right in front of the door. So I'm trying to push him out of the way. And it didn't even dawn on me as I'm pushing in. His brain matter was on the seat. It fell into the back of my shirt. Yeah. Which to this day I can feel it. You know what I mean? And now this is one small scenario. Imagine that happening to you one time. How that would change the course of your life. I know it sounds dramatic, but don't you think it would?
Yeah.
Don't you think you would look at a lot of stuff different? Don't you think you would feel a lot different? So
Yeah, I don't know if I would keep being able to feel after a certain point.
right? Yeah. And then have to keep it in that. I had to keep that thing. I had to keep it on my shirt for like 4 hours. I tried to wash it out and all that. It came down to taking off my shirt, vest, and everything. But once,
Sorry, I was just gonna ask a question. You mentioned all these violent situations, but you're a homicide detective. Is that fulfilling? Is it fulfilling? Like,
no, that was my least favorite. That was absolutely my least favorite assignment. It's the
What
one.
was homicide detective?
Yes. It's the one I worked towards my whole career, and then once I got into it, it was just there was no real satisfaction. There was satisfaction in catching the person that did it, but it was overshadowed by what the act left everyone around it in. You know, again, I had domestic violence. Someone else would do it, or he'd get out and do it again, and there was so much sadness and sorrow surrounding it because the court cases were long and drawn out.
Yeah.
You were sitting with the family for sometimes years getting through these processes, and you were the last attachment that they had to these people. So they would become really attached to you. They would bring me Christmas presents. You know, even after the case was done, I would politely tell them I can't accept this for a lot of reasons, but the primary one is I can't have this relationship. I can't have this emotional tie to you because I got a million more of these. And if I start doing that, I'm done. You know what I mean? This has to be, you have to be your groceries that I bagged. You got to take that bag of groceries and you got to get out of here because I got to get on to the next one. It's just, it's too much mentally to have an emotional tie with you whatsoever. So homicide was a lot of that. And it was also
It has to be heartbreaking
heartbreaking.
because it's heartbreaking to them too. It's like,
Even when it was a gang member. Even when it was a gang member that was almost impossible to deal with. And I'm a little, I admit it, man, going into it, I'm a little too sensitive to have probably done this job, but it was just draining. There's no good scenario in homicide. And then if you don't catch the guys that did it, it weighs on you. It weighs on you that you couldn't do it. You know, you couldn't figure it out. You failed. This guy's going to do it again. So there's almost a level of responsibility that is. Homicide was a different beast. I no bueno, man. No good. You know, I got a lot of good things out of other assignments.
do now.
Well, if your definition of a serial killer is someone that kills a lot of people, yeah, there is. There's gang members out there that have killed 5, 6, 7 people. They're going to kill more people. But the world doesn't look at that guy as a serial killer. It doesn't fit the definition, or through a training class, they're not teaching you that this guy's a serial killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The quintessential serial killer is so uncool.
Yeah.
So uncool. It just, nobody's breaking into strangers' homes and, you know, doing the Night Stalker shit.
Is there a hypothesis that when you get into that job that'll be what it's like and stuff? Is there that kind of like?
Kind of, you know, and it's like anything when you look. I mean, an industry like this, I imagine you look at someone that's doing something else and going like, oh, that's where I
Oh
want to be.
yeah, you think
That's where I want to be. That's where I want to be because that's where it's happening. And then you get there and you go, fuck, this ain't that great, you know? I want to be there. I want to be there. And no matter what, you get there and you go like, at least my experience, it's not what I thought it was. It was actually better back there. I want to go back there because that was a lot better. But homicide, I mean, look at the infatuation with cops. Look at the TV shows and
He's
movies.
saying everything.
Everything is
Killing. It's like, yeah, I think I've seen every episode.
surface aspect of it. You're not seeing the stuff that we've been talking about. You know what's behind all that, but you're seeing that. So even going into it, you go like, "Oh, look at that dude! That dude's been around." The reality of it is, he's so fucked up and callous that he's totally quiet and cool. You know, I want to be that guy, man. I want to do that shit. Got a suit on, looking good. Do you ever work? People always go, "Hey, do you work homicide? You can work homicide. You can be a homicide detective." And it's just, again, it goes back to that thing: is you just don't. My experience was, I just want to get the fuck out. I just.
So you graduated finally. You're out.
I'm out. I'm retired. They gotta pay me for the rest of my life.
Hey man, brother, you deserve it.
I hope so. I think so. You know, it's
Dude, I can't even.
it's not a tremendous amount of money, but it's a good chunk that most people don't have.
And what else do you want to do after?
A big company that owns lots of businesses, and I do asset protection for them. You know, just real surface investigations of money crimes, and basic, simple, almost stupid,
No
but
pressure.
it's dumb. What I do, I did. They pay me well, and sometimes I get a little antsy and go, God, my life. Look at my life now. My life is so boring, and this sucks. I got to do something else. But when my kid was little, we made that very clear.
Wow.
With one sentence, you will fucking never be a cop. Oh, dang. So don't even think about it. Don't dream about it. Don't anything. It will never fucking happen.
What about a fireman?
Fuck yeah. I'll do anything to get him fired.
Yeah, dude, let's get some Franks.
Right? With the understanding that there's going to be trauma, but police work, man, there's just, if I could go back in time, as much as my experience, there was joy that I hold on to and go, God, that was awesome. I'm so glad I did that. It was exciting. My life is this. People want to hear. It's crazy to think people want to hear about it. You got me sitting here talking about what I did, and it is a crazy thought to go, people actually are interested because they don't understand. And when they hear it, they go, whoa, that's fucking really crazy. That's crazy to me because that's just what I did. You know what I mean? So there's aspects I would say, oh, it'd be sad if I never did that. But if I could go back in time, totally do something different. But I got here by luck. I never planned on being a cop. Like I said, my growing up was different. No, but I was doing bad things. But I was deviant. I was insecure doing bad things, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know. But how I became a cop, this is back in the day, is I had nothing going on. I had no plans, man. You know, I was doing nothing. There was just no future. So I started coaching my little brother's Pop Warner team with my dad. And the guy that was coaching with me was a instructor in the police academy. And literally one day during the game, he's going, what are you doing now, man? I'm all, I got nothing going on. He goes, I'll get you to the fucking police academy a couple of weeks you want. And I went, all right, that sounds cool, man. Let's do it. And that's how it happened. Wow. That's fucking how it happened. Well, these guys got no fucking idea. You know what I mean? They got no idea. But it served me well. My background served me well. I was able to do that job, I think, better than most, strictly based on experience and compassion. You know, understanding the dynamic of taking away someone's freedom is a big fucking deal. And we need to avoid that at all costs. We need to avoid that at all costs. And getting them in the system and getting this record and all the things that come with it, I knew the magnitude of it. I didn't take it lightly ever. I used to get 17, 18-year-old girls for DUIs, and it was gut-wrenching to me. It was gut-wrenching me. Anybody, it was just gut-wrenching of taking them and putting them in a jail cell and realizing this is going to change the course of your life forever. You know, hopefully it'll be positive, but this is crying. It's just traumatic. Most cops, let's go get the fuck in the cell and let's get past this. And you were drunk and I saved lives and I got to get out there and I got to find some real crime. You know what I mean? And I can remember sitting and thinking, like, talking to him in the cell, just going like, it's gonna be okay.
Right.
It's gonna be okay. I know you hate me right now, but it's gonna be okay. And one thing I do know, I hope, is you're never gonna be here again. Right. And you didn't kill nobody. You know what I mean? So those kind of aspects for me, I really look back at it and go like, I was meant to be there as as much as I didn't deserve maybe to be there, and the way it just happened to me to be there.
Want to be able to share this story today too with us too, you know, because like I feel too much. I've always been too much of a feeler, you know, and so I think you need people that have a little extra feelings sometimes to get out of instances sometimes and share some of the feeling side of it.
And I'll be
especially your job.
I'll be judged based on this from people in the industry. People in the industry will absolutely judge me based on this. This is literally, believe it or not, this is the absolute first fucking time I have ever publicly said anything about my childhood and being arrested and being in custody. I worked with guys who are my friends, who I care deeply about, and I never made mention of it. And so much time went on. I just thought it's irrelevant and there's no reason to bring it up. And I just never did. I just buried it. This is the absolute first fucking time I've ever admitted that. And it'll be interesting. I don't know who's going to see it or what. It'd be interesting to see what. I'm an old guy now. You know, it'd be interesting to see if people actually come back at me and go, "You motherfucker," or whatever it is, the reaction I get.
Fucking criminal.
But I do hope that people do listen to it and go like, hey, there's something to it.
It's fascinating, man, and it's fascinating. You know, we had a border patrol security guy on one time, which is just a public service job, I guess, in a way, or something in the same world, a little bit.
Yes.
But it was interesting to hear about the border and the things that go on there, and the people that are getting run back and forth across there, and how cartels own different pieces of land there. So if you even want to transport someone across a piece of land, you have to pay that cartel even to like coyote somebody across the land.
Yeah.
And how a lot of the people coming in, some of them aren't even Mexican, and a lot of them are fucking, Middle Eastern, and they're fucking a lot of pedophile, a lot of creatures. Shit was like, Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of aspects that you don't even think of that we dealt with on a daily basis. A lot of people that come in are obviously coming here because they want a better life. I'm totally down for that, you know? There's just a process. We just need the process. Just do it the legal process. Everybody come, but let's just go through this process because we need that process, because you wouldn't believe how many people come here and they don't have the means, or they don't have car insurance.
Right.
There are all these different things that they're just bypassing, where it's causing such turmoil in our world and our system. I mean, those are the problems.
Well, all of that, it's all like, how long are we going to strain the walls of our system,
Yes.
you know? I mean, we already don't even, and then they still expect people to put a president on television and be like, America, it's like, don't sell me this fucking thing if you're not, if it's not a real product.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's really kind of happened. I think that's a lot of kind of what's, it's one of the issues.
They bag it up into one thing. If you're against it, they say, well, you're a racist.
Yeah.
I'm not a racist at all. I couldn't give a shit. The only reason that I even think about it is because you keep talking about it. But I just want them to come here. I want them here. Let's make sure they have a path to get here.
Oh, yeah.
But let's just
know inventory. Any business that doesn't have good inventory will go out of business. If you don't know what's on the shelves, or know what's here or what's there, it's going to go out of business, man. And that's what fucking starts to get scary. Because you have other people that are just like, well, I was born here. I'm just trying to play by whatever rules I was born into. Maybe they were more fortunate than some other places. I don't know. In some ways, they probably were. In some ways, they probably weren't. But I'm just trying to play by the fucking rules. And
everybody's got to play by the rules.
And when our government isn't even playing by the rules anymore, then it's like, well, then it makes it tough to think that someone just, an everyday man, is going to be like, okay, I'm going to keep playing by them. And I think that makes you guys' job even tougher. Yeah. It's like, now you're having to almost do a government's job.
Well, police departments are the government.
Right, but
they're just that wing that's got to take care of all that stuff.
Right, and you shouldn't be like you're the most accessible part of the government too for people, and that's fucking good. You're the person that they can really reach to take it out on. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling.
Not me, not anymore.
You're free, baby.
Free, man.
What were some any news topics we wanted to hit before we get this man out of here?
Not specifically news, but I did want to hear about when you were on the show Cops.
Oh yeah, good call.
Oh yeah, okay. So Cops, it's super interesting. They
used to watch that as a family. God.
Yeah, I used to watch it too. Crazy. So,
dude, I met Roseanne Barr last night.
How's that?
The awesomest time.
Really?
Dude, I was.
How did that get? Why did you bring up Roseanne Barr?
I don't know. I thought about it and I was so excited, and I meant to tell you a little while ago. Did you ever see her show growing up?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh. Dude, I'm on stage at the Comedy Store, right? And I hear this laugh in the back. And only one other time it happened to me was Damon Wayans. I heard his laugh, and I grew up watching his laugh. And I heard her laugh, and it fucking just flipped in my head. I didn't know that she was back there. And I was like, oh my God, that Roseanne bar. She was in the room tonight in the crowd, you know. There's probably 200 people in there, or something sold out. And
She was nice.
she was howling laughing. So then I'm like, I want to do the best I can. Like for all the years that she made me laugh or made me feel like I, you know, mattered in the fucking universe with that poor family that they worked on. I wanted to just have that one moment to like give as much back of that as I could.
Yeah.
And I crushed. And then I got to meet her after. And anyway, I was just so freaking excited. And some girl came up and was like, "Oh," and I even said to that girl, "You are a menace right now. Okay, I've worked too hard to get to meet Roseanne,
Right.
and you are fucking ruining it." And she still goes, "Well, I don't want to tell you." She just kept telling Roseanne. Finally, was like, "You are ruining it." Oh, it was so good.
That's funny that Roseanne Barr did that for you.
Anyway, yeah, she did. I mean, look, there was definitely some other women did it too, but she that
Had an impact.
and I just love her comedy. And they tried to cancel her, and it just fucking was like, fuck. You know, she had a tweet that the Twitter said was racist, and she referenced like I don't even remember what it was, but it wasn't racist. It was just like the general term. You know how Twitter was. Hopefully it'll get better. But anyway, the cops. Let's hear
So
about
cops, the way cops operates is that there's a few film crews. There's a sound guy and there's a camera guy. And I think I don't remember how many men, but it was very few, like 4 or 5 of these teams. And these guys were so interesting. They essentially go out, and by the time they came to our police department, it had really changed because of civil law, where you weren't able to just do film shit and throw it on TV. You had to get waivers from everyone that was involved, and that involved criminals signing off saying, yeah, you can use that shit, which is fucking so stupid. If you signed off on that shit, you're the dumbest guy on the face of the earth, because it's all now evidence that could be used against you in court.
Insane.
So it was really tough to get those guys to sign off. But believe it or not, you know, unfortunately, when it comes to crime, you're not dealing with a lot of scholars, so you would get a lot of signatures. But by then it was a little tougher. So what they would do is they would ride with you. They would pick an officer, and I was fortunate enough to be picked. They would ride with you for 2 months, every single shift. Yeah, and at that time I was working 312s, which is 3 shifts, 3 12-hour shifts, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which was the busiest. That's why a graveyard. So that's why they wanted to ride with me. So you would go out with these guys, and it was like performance anxiety. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh yeah,
I felt this
20s.
Yeah, right. I just felt this need to perform, man. You know, and
It's heroin.
police work is some days there's just nothing going on. You know, you gotta self-generate, whether it be tickets, and hope you can come up with stuff. So I always felt this pressure to go out. But speaking with these guys and their experiences, like the sound guy had been shot in the leg. The other guy, something had happened. They're dude, I was going like, fuck, that is so awesome, dude. I can't believe you experienced all this shit that you've experienced. I mean, these guys probably walked away from that show and have mental problems themselves.
Yeah.
Because they essentially were cops all the time on patrol.
Well, imagine you're a sound guy and you're like, oh, it sounds like somebody got shot, and then it's fucking you.
Whatever, you know, I mean, they had all kinds, these guys had great stories. So essentially they would ride with you the whole time. And the issue became is you felt so much pressure to get material
Oh yeah.
that when they rode with me, they rode with 2 different officers, me and another guy, and I literally didn't make the show. I literally didn't make the show. I did. And the one time I did, the guy wouldn't sign off, and they couldn't make the cuts to make it relevant. So I literally didn't make. But I actually became really good friends with these guys because we'd spent so much time talking that I was talking to him. I don't now, but I was talking to him for quite a bit, calling him, where you at and what's going on. And
Wow.
but the way that they do cops is when you watch it, it looks like it's progressive. It looks like this is happening. You know what I mean? And it never registers with you, and like they're in the car and they get the radio call. It's like, oh, you know, 372, respond to number either, yeah, whatever it is. And you see the cop go, okay, and then all of a sudden he's driving, and then it cuts away, and you see the car making a right-hand turn onto a street, and it never really registers with go, well, how the fuck did they know he was going there to be on that thing? You know what I mean? I'm a guy that has no idea of the industry and editing all that, so it wasn't until they rode with me and I watched the cops and I went, well, how the fuck are they getting all these angles and shit? So what ends up happening, as I find out, is we would have the situation, they would get out and they would they would be in it. I mean, you would have to literally tell these guys, look, dude, you need to step the fuck back. You know, you need to get behind that car right now. I get it, but I need you to do that. So they were always up on you, and they'd be filming and get everything they can. And then they would go back and go, hey, look, I think this is something we can do. So this is what I need you to do. I need you to drop my camera guy off on that corner, and I want you to go back to this street, and then I want you to fake like you're responding to the radio. I'm going to be in it filming you, you know, with the other camera. So there's acting involved. You know what I mean? And I was a young kid, and I just couldn't do it, dude. I'm just not an actor. You know what I mean? So they would like be filming you. So all those guys you see doing it, that's all acting up until the actual scenario.
Wow.
Which never really crossed my mind.
No, yeah. In my mind, I just think, oh, that makes sense. They have footage everywhere, and they're just getting all the, you know, that's like they're just dialed in and getting everything. That's you don't even think about
now. They would have tell me, okay, now I want you to come and open that door. You know what I mean? And then you go back and watch the episode and go, okay, now this shit makes sense. Why did that ever register with me? This is all bullshit. You know what I mean? Except for the actual scenarios themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they would just film it raw, and they would do their editing magic and make an episode. But it takes 2 months every single night with 2 different teams for a half-hour episode. And they said they struggle sometimes to get that. Yeah.
I've struggled to get it, brother.
Right?
It's weird that we're watching crime. Is it weird that we watch crime, that we devour it like that? What does it do to our psyche when we just see crime, when we see murder, disappearing? You know, what does it do to us over time?
I couldn't even answer that question. I always think, wow, I wonder, how did I think about this kind of shit before I was exposed to all this shit? Because I don't think the same way you do. You know what I mean? You don't think the same way I do. Because I have a different perspective of it'd be like me having an opinion and the way I thought it works. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what it all pertains. Same deal with police work. I don't remember how I thought before, which is how you would think about it in its entirety. You know, cops, what they do, what's going on, all that kind of shit. Because I did it for 20 years. So I watch people when they watch these shows, and most of the shows I go, fuck, this is so stupid. I can't even watch this, dude, because the world thinks this is what it is, and this is so far from what it is. This is just entertainment. But I don't know what the fascination with it, because I've seen cop movies where like these guys with AK-47s in the street and shoot, which is totally unrealistic. But anything like a shooting or anything, for me it just makes me feel bad. You know what I mean? For me, it just 9 times out of 10 it'll make me think of something that inside my brain that I don't even remember and know that it's there anymore. That all of a sudden, like the example we said earlier, I'll see a kid in a red jacket, and all of a sudden I'll literally watch that kid, and they just didn't get
That was the kid that ran into traffic.
Yeah, I'll watch that kid die again, and I'll always go like, what the fuck? You know, why the fuck am I thinking about that? And when is that finally going to be gone? And that's so crazy, and that's all shit I'm doing to myself in my mind. I'm not talking about it. I don't talk to my wife about it, but that's my experience. That happens to me a lot. You know, I mean, it happens to me a lot. Little triggers, what they call them. You know, and I'll think, and I won't. It's never a good time to go, you know, I just thought it, honey. I just thought it the first time I watched this fucking guy because I saw a kid. You just kind of keep it to yourself because it's just the way that it is. So the rest of the world watches that shit. I don't know, dude. I don't know what the fascination is. The same idea, I guess, is why did you want me to come in here and talk today? Because I guess people want to know. They want to know. They want to know. They want to see. They want to understand. The problem with TV is that's a very watered down version of reality.
Right, and it's also a version that they mastered the like how to have the algorithm of and make it as quick and cheap to shoot, as efficient as possible. Blah 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 blah. Factor shows how much somebody who involved in the production may have had a family member that was an officer. Now it's like I feel like some of these people making stuff are so far removed from any of the reality of it that they don't even have a human sense of it. It's you know,
absolutely. And if you watch as a cop, if you watch a show and you'll see it, you go, dude, someone in law enforcement had something to do with this.
You can tell.
You can tell. Someone told them that because no one else would know that.
What about this, man? Say it's a quiet night out there. You ever get your way to bus off and get you a 20-minute nap in somewhere?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. They had spots, man. Especially on graveyards, 312s. After 4 o'clock, shit's silent. Radio's silent. We would, yeah, that's it, man. We would get together because you want to be safe and sleep in a group, you know, and
like wolves or something.
pretty much. And one guy was
Or lions. You know, lions sleep in a group.
yeah. Everybody had. There was always one guy that had to stay up.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And that guy 9 times out of 10 would fucking fall asleep anyways. You know what I mean? So
I love that guy.
yeah, but that happens every night in cities. You know, I mean, you just have to. You know, you just got to do it in a responsible way. And we would have a couple times we would go behind this church and there was a parking lot that was really secluded with the walls perfect. You know, we'd have like 6 cars back there and everybody sleeping. Some of the guys didn't even take off their belts. You know, to get more comfortable. Yeah, laying sprawled across, bring blankets, then lay over in the middle and freeze.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So God was like, yeah, he was watching over us.
God was literally watching over you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did they have, you know, a lot of people sending videos, a lot of like drug induced homosexuality, like men that will do drugs and then start making out. You guys see a lot of that out there?
In Whittier, we had a pretty prominent gay community.
But anybody being gay is just kind of like that's normal. That's like a
Yeah.
regular. Some people are gay, some people are straight, some
Yeah.
people are in the middle. I'm talking about on pills or powder or uppers.
Poppers,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
something.
Yeah,
And then they-
methamphetamine's really big in the gay community.
So will meth lead people to being gay? You think?
No, you could give me about a pound of meth, and I don't think I'd ever be gay. I don't think it ever leads up to being gay, but it definitely, I think it enhanced the situations. You know, we had a part, yeah, right. And,
Okay, cool. Thanks.
yeah, we had a park. Where the gay community would get together and kind of meet each other, and it was in the bathroom. There was this whole process that they would participate in to meet one another, and you would stand at the urinal in the public bathroom, and if you were standing there long enough and did the right looks, that the other guys would know, and it was, hey, how are you? And sometimes a little further. So we would have guys work at that time, just because the people did like it in the park and became real prevalent.
So much.
Being performed in a public park, so they wanted to go away. So we had guys undercover that would go in and stand there, and we actually had an officer that was standing there, and he made himself known as a police officer because it became apparent, and the guy grabbed his junk and got a death grip on it because he was scared, you know. And yeah, the situation was hilarious because he wouldn't let go. We all had to come in, and we're screaming at this guy, let him go,
And the guys just hold on to his wiener.
Cops, yeah. This guy standing there with a death grip on his thing, and he doesn't even want to get in a fight or nothing because there ain't a lot holding that on, you know. So that's something I don't want to discover.
Did some guys have to get stationed in the bathroom sometimes?
That's what we would do. We would go in the bathroom and put ourselves in the situation to,
Oh,
because
I see.
it was a whole process. Drugs were very prevalent. You know, hey, can you use some of this and that?
But let's see. This is what's happening. We're seeing people sending in this type of stuff here, and these two gentlemen. You can, and now they're just buddies, you know. But I think the drug at a certain point gets you pretty close there. You
Right.
know? Like,
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, that's just almost like a goodbye. It doesn't really see that to me doesn't seem like really like homoerotic behavior. That just seems
Right.
like two fellas like I'm fucked up or you.
Well, I
I'm gonna
think
miss you. I'm gonna
It looks
miss
like the one guy's maybe not totally into it, and maybe he's just trying to get a free Slurpee or something.
you.
There's something in it for him.
But this is a lot of what's been going on these days, and people have been sending in a lot of videos like this.
Yeah, we actually, when I was in homicide, I actually went to a training course where they taught about in the community, in the gay community, apparently, based on the training I received, there's something they called it homosexual overkill. And when there's murders involved in the gay community, it's usually really passionate, really over the top, you know, like chopping up. And I think the training was just to make you aware when you came to a murder, if you saw something that was completely over the top as far as the way it went down, that
There could be that vibe.
it could be an avenue to start looking at. You know, maybe this is maybe a gay community thing that we can get some information from. or
Like
something.
Jeffrey Dahmer, really.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I remember going to the training, and it was very graphic. Whether that's true in its entirety or not, I don't know.
Well, gay guys, I think, do everything to extreme kind of. So
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be shocked if
Yeah.
you like, Julian a guy up or something. If he's being,
Yeah.
a bad guy.
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of stuff. What do you think there, Zach?
Yeah, we pretty much covered everything in the show. A lot of stories.
Right, look, man. I think we'd love to even have you back sometime. We'll have you back when there's a crime or something, or if there's something that we can talk about. I've really enjoyed learning about what some of your experience has been like, and getting little bit more of an emotional aspect of what an officer goes through and could potentially go through every day. That's crazy. When I think about a 21-year-old guy that's rolling out of a parking lot.
Yeah, a time when cops were looked at a little different. Shit, I used to post up at 3 nightclubs getting out, because there was actually an appeal to being a police officer.
Yeah, you're curious to see how we're going to get there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got to. We have to. It's got to get better. It can't get any worse, or we're going to be in real trouble. But I really appreciate you having me in here and having the venue to tell you some stuff about what it really is like, and I hope it's been beneficial.
It's been awesome, man. It's been fascinating. Brad White, thank you so much for your time, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Now I'm just floating on the breeze, and I feel I'm falling like these leaves. I must be cornerstone. Oh, but when I reach that ground, I'll share this piece of mind I found. I can feel it.